Put on your drinking shirt, grab your favorite brain poison, park yourself down on that sofa, and let's get ready to party!
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, or good whatever the hell it is, wherever the hell you are, and welcome to Midweek Six Pack. It's a Tuesday night here, so it's, I guess, Tuesday morning for almost half of the people we've got with us. So a big hello to everyone. We've got Jen from Jen's Little Corner. Most of you would know Jen. She's like pretty much the regular here. She's my mother's favourite person on the show, so if you can say hi to Mum for me, that'd be great.
Hi, Chris's mum. She's also the person who really screwed this up tonight, so...
My mum?
It's her fault.
Yeah. If this goes bad, it is definitely my fault.
Oh, your fault, yes.
Oh, I thought you were blaming my mum.
No, your mum, no, me.
Hey,
no. Oh, Chris's mum. I
Oh.
didn't mean you. My fault. If this goes pear-shaped, it's my fault. I was
Right.
organised.
I was going to say, I know Mum likes you and follows you and all that, but don't tell me like you two are becoming buddies. I mean, that'd be weird. That's...
Hey, your mum has the right to have friends, Chris.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, good point. Mum,
I'd happily have a big chat
you've heard
to
of
your
the
mum.
that
She's
happens.
awesome.
It's true, she is. Because, she had me, so she did something right. Amanda, I'm an atheist from, I think you're just about everywhere at the moment. We've got something new coming up soon that we're gonna talk about. Nokasuchi, Raging Atheist, welcome to the channel. First time here, so welcome and good morning to you.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, y'all. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, mate.
Good morning.
Sam, I think you've been on the channel once or twice, yeah?
A couple of times.
Yep, the smoothest man on YouTube, Sam, for anyone who hasn't seen him. And, of course, you know him from Neil the 604 show, but I think you're actually on the first six-pack as well, Bear?
Oh, yeah, going back in time. Yeah, back in the 1850s.
Yeah, back in the good old days. I've got to ask, the boat that you were on, it's not the famous one, is it? That's Harmony, is it?
No, it was the Voyage of the Seas, which had only 34 cases. So hey, no problem.
That's good. And Bears can't get it out here, so you're safe.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well,
only tigers, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, that made me really sad when I heard that because I got a cat.
Yeah.
Oh, so hang on, have I missed something, or is this that Tiger King show?
No, a tiger in the
there was
box
something
who tested positive for COVID-19.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's weird. Okay, tigers.
We know it's zoonotic because it came originally from a bat. So, but the thing is with zoonotic diseases, animals can carry it and not carry them and not have any symptoms. It can not affect them at all. Depends on the animal. So
That's very sciencey. Did you talk to a scientist about that, Amanda?
That joke's as old as this channel.
It's still funny.
I think I'm going to stop that joke because I'm a bit sick of picking on Amanda's credentials. But I'm not sick of picking on Luke Skywalker.
Can we get that on repeat?
yeah, I know, right?
You should use that. See, this is what happens when you hit the big time. It's people stop picking on you.
I don't think it's ever going to stop. So
I love you too much.
No, I never said I'd stop picking on her. I just don't want to pick on her for her credentials. I'm going to pick on her for Luke Skywalker.
okay.
So
that feels a little better, I guess.
Puke Skywalker.
Sorry.
Moving on. Or punch somebody.
We've touched a sore point here, I can tell.
Oh yeah.
She's just salty he doesn't go Super Saiyan and Goku could beat him in a fight.
Are we talking about the one scene in A New Hope where he whines about the power converters? Is that the scene we're talking about here?
I haven't seen it, so I'm just...
I admit that he's whiny at the beginning, especially in the first one, but he gets better, and then I don't.
He does get better.
Okay.
Jen, you're getting people saying you're really quiet, Jen. You sound loud to us in StreamYards.
What a shame! Nobody heard the shit she said.
Yeah, well,
Skywalker's a whiny little shit. There you go.
Sorry, audience. We did actually tell Jen to turn her volume down for the quality of the show.
Love it.
Damn. When the smoothest man on YouTube is dissing you, you know there's problems.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just so bored at home. I need to do something.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, a big hello to everyone who is in the chat. There's a lot of familiar people, and I will say hi to everyone pretty soon. Look, for anyone who hasn't already, make sure you hit the like button. If you haven't subbed, I mean, I'm seeing some pretty familiar names in there. If you haven't subbed, like, come on, just hit the sub. You've been here a few times, it's all right. Even if you haven't been here before and you feel like it. Darth Dawkins, I know you're in there somewhere. So Darth, whichever profile you're using today, make sure you hit the sub because we'll take it. We'll take the extra one. And good to see you, Darth. Cool. So something I want to address off the top. And it's something from, a bit of a follow-up from Friday Night Six Pack. Now, for those who didn't watch, I pretty much missed all of Friday Night Six Pack. I wasn't feeling the best, and Amanda took over and ran the show. But I sort of popped in at the end and had a few things to say. So there was a bit of a, to recap without recapping too much. There was Amanda was on Raging Atheist. Matt Powell came in to the show. Amanda was a bit upset about it. I had a few things to say about it, and look, I guess that stuff. I stand by 100%. That's I'm fine with that. But what happened afterwards was I kind of continued on a bit of a rant, and it was a bit of a rant that sort of implied a few things, and I just want to clear it up. There is one thing that pisses me off in this, not in this community, but in the YouTube community, and that's that there's some people who are in it for the wrong reasons. They're basically in it to try and make a buck. They're trying to boost their own ego or for whatever reason, but they're not in it for the community. They're in it for themselves. And I've had run-ins with a few people like that. Some smaller channels. There's one big channel in particular who I'm not going to name, but I think a few people know who I'm talking about, who are in it for the wrong reasons. When I was halfway through that rant, basically what I did was I implied that Nokasuchi and A Raging Atheist was one of those channels. And first thing I want to say is I hadn't really come across that channel, and it's no slight on the channel. It's just because I'm very, very limited in my time, very limited in sort of the stuff I've come across, and there's a lot of things I've heard of but haven't actually seen. So I shouldn't have been making comment based on that alone. But regardless, I have in the past week gone and checked out the channel, and I was wrong. I was wrong to imply it. I was wrong to imply it to start with, but any implication of that is complete garbage. So I asked Nokasuchi to come on today because I think when you fuck up, you man up to it. So man to man, I want to apologise to you because I shouldn't have made that implication, because as far as I can see, it's 100% wrong. So mate, I hope you accept my apology.
Oh yeah,
I was wrong.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I've had some drama coming at me from another source. So with that, I think it got lumped into what's going on with that. I streamed about it Saturday. I don't recommend anybody watching it because it was a shit show and it wasn't productive at all. But it got lumped in with that. And firstly, I would really like to apologize to Mama Atheist again now that she's here and we're here together, because it was irresponsible of me to do it in the way that I did that night. I hadn't let Matt on my channel in 6 to 8 months, a very long time, because he is the way he is and he misrepresents everything that I do and say. If I let him on my channel, then he cuts it up and uses it dishonestly. So I haven't let him do that. We've been trying to set up a debate, but I should have cut off the stream and did that in a different stream, because Mama Atheist stream was probably one of the best streams that we've had in a long time, by far the best climate change stream that we've had ever. So yeah, no, I totally accept your apology. Like I said, like, I completely understand not having time. I'm not aware of a lot of what's going on in the community unless my Discord makes me aware of it. So no, I totally understand. And yeah, it's things get said when you're conversing. So no, I hold no grudges, and I actually appreciate all of you reaching out to me, talking with me, not just letting that be it, and shows that you're good people, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I guess the other thing I did want to touch on quickly, and only because it happened on the channel, and I will jump to you in a second, and I do want to address this. Ed, or Grumpy Old Dude, he did have a few things to say last week. I should have shut that down, because regardless of anything, look, I'm not holding an opinion on it, because I mean, I think it's one of those things where I reckon it's probably a misunderstanding. I've asked Ed for the receipts, and I've asked Ed, I said, well, if this has happened, can you send it to me? But what Ed's said to me is it's an old account that he's used. Most people, I'd kind of go, yeah, but with Ed, he's completely hopeless, and Ed wouldn't mind me saying this when it comes to anything technological. Look, I'd like to think it's a miscommunication, because I think both of you, well, I guess from what I know, I don't know either of you all that well, but I think you're both straight shooters. I think that.
I think I agree. I've been thinking about this as well. I can't find the conversation myself. I never delete conversations, so I know I have it somewhere. I think he approached me about the fact that my video on the creativity movement was older, because I was focusing on Hale and this particular guy that had committed murders. And I was portraying that as the creativity movement. And I do still stand by that. They've been a lot quieter, but they haven't changed. They call themselves creativity now. But I think he was trying to reach out to me to try to show me that it had changed, and that they had at least went underground, and that they're not out on the streets, trying to harm people anymore. And I think that I probably told him I would make an update video, really look at it. I think I started to look at it, but then I think I got busy and moved on to something else and forgot about it. So when he brought that up, maybe he takes it like I was ignoring what he was trying to tell me, or that I ignored the update video. I just forgot about it. So one of my first priorities this week, I've already started doing the research for it, is updating that creativity video and making it as accurate as possible.
No, too easy. But look, once again, I should have shut that down, because if accusations are going to get thrown around, they shouldn't. There's one other apology I've got to make, and I can't believe I've got to make this. I've got to apologise to Matt Powell. I actually got him mixed up with Matt Slick. Matt Powell doesn't sell dodgy apologetics diplomas, which I think I said. I got my Powells and my Slicks mixed up. Look, they're both on about the same level as far as I'm concerned, but that's a correction. I'm going to throw over to Amanda, because you have something to say.
I mean, I just wanted to stand up for Chris for a second, because, we here are kind of a family, and we really care about each other, and some of it was just emotional, and
Yeah.
I just appreciate that, and understand that happens sometimes. It wasn't personal. So
There was a lot of that last week between lots of people.
Yeah, and I understand it. And to Grumpy Old Dude, I don't hold a beef. I was upset, but I don't hold a beef, and I would love to have a conversation with you. Bring you on my show. We'll talk about the creativity movement.
Cool. Oh, the offer's there, and I know Ed was a bit stressed about it and things like that, and I think he was sort of saying, well, do I offer up an apology? I can't find this stuff. And I said, well, look, you do what you need to do.
Yeah, no, if he can't find it, and then that's no apology necessary. We can just move on. I didn't make the video like I probably told him I would. So I think that there's fault on both sides, probably.
Well, I'll tell you one of the nice things about this community is when shit happens, we tend to sort it out pretty quick. And that's what I've found, I guess, since I've been in the community, even with people that I haven't had a lot to do with. I guess this is the first time we've spoken, I guess, face to face, so to speak. But things were able to get sorted out pretty quick. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess our fight shouldn't be with each other ever. Our fight should always be against the lunatics who are trying to impose ideological laws on us and force their religion down the throats of our respective cultures. So I think so long as we can always focus there. But look, it was a bit of an emotional week last week. I think lockdown's sending everyone a little bit crazy.
Definitely.
I don't know how it is for everyone else, but I got to tell you, it's really bad. It's really bad. But anyway, let's move on to the fun stuff. What's everyone drinking?
First, you got there. Jack Daniels. I still got a few to finish, so...
Coffee and I'm still in my
Irish coffee
shit clothes. So,
respect for coming out at 7:30 in the morning, and same to you, Manda, as you do every week. Although it's good this week. It's an hour later for you, isn't it?
Yeah, which I didn't expect. So I was actually up way fucking early this morning waiting for 5:30.
That's what happens when daylight saving starts for one and ends for another. It's a win-win. So it's always good. What are you drinking, Amanda?
I'm not telling because you're going to pick on me.
I'm going to pick on you regardless, so you may as well tell me.
Strawberry daiquiri again.
Nice.
Oh, Amanda's going to get this.
I'm a fan of the strawberry daiquiri, so I'm with you on that one.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
The best decision I ever made was quit drinking. The worst decision I ever made was quitting before the quarantine.
Oh.
Right?
I got some blue Curacao
you can enjoy.
So I could join you in the cocktails because I've got some blue Curacao.
Sounds good. I got my frozen though. It's nice. Don't fucking pick on me. Leave me alone. You know that I had the problem. I had the wine, but I couldn't find the fucking corkscrew.
I sent you 5 ways to open that one.
But I realized that you were right. I would probably hurt myself because I just stick with this today.
I think we can accept that's probably going to happen regardless. Sam, what are you drinking? I'm going to guess some kind of nice cidery flavoured beverage.
Oh, so wrong. I need to go top up again, but it was a rum and coke, spice rum and coke.
About time you're drinking something decent there, Sam.
Wow.
So now I've said that, I'm going to go fill up because my cup is empty, as you see.
See, this is what happens when you don't have to go to work. You drink spirits in the middle of the week.
I've got a question for the chat. Is my volume any better now? Because I did drag it up a bit.
No, I think they were happy. They were saying you were quiet, and I think they were actually complimenting that.
Yeah, you sound a lot better now, Jim.
Screw you, Chris. I love you, but screw you.
Fair.
Nothing yet, but do you mind if I go and get a beer?
Go.
Go get a beer. Go. But no one would know anyway.
I'll be right back. Actually, when you mentioned blue Curacao, there was a drink on the ship. It was called a Blue Rose, and it tasted like sweet and sour. You know that one? It's like sweet and sour snakes, lollies. It was really sweet. It was beautiful, and COVID free, but it was beautiful. Yeah,
COVID free. That's the important bit.
That was the important bit. I'll be right back. I'll get a beer. Hang on.
You guys still seem to understand that when he went out, it was right before it started, and I freaked the fuck out that somebody was going to be sick on that ship, and they were going to get him sick. It did. For 2 weeks, I was fucking scared, so...
When it all happened and all the they weren't letting any of the cruise ships in, they sent them all down to Wollongong, which is where I am, so I'd jump up on my roof, and I would have been able to see about 5 or 6 cruise ships, all sitting just off the, waiting to get in somewhere. So I was going, hey, that's where Mr. Bear is. But so I'm on the it's called a Colonial Draft. It's a Kolsch ale. It's a craft beer. It's a nice one. It's the good thing about this lockdown is all the places that normally you'd have to go and eat in to get a decent sort of fancy beer are all doing deliveries now. So it's
you bloody monarchist, Chris. You bloody monarchist.
Monarchist?
Colonial?
What?
What is it? Okay.
It's about
Sorry.
Hey, good morning, Dr. Josh.
want to be a republic, and
Yeah, sorry.
Dr.
It's a
Josh,
lame
my friend Dr. Josh is in the chat.
Hey, Josh, how are you? Good to see you. Actually, he's popped in a few times now. That's
he's a regular.
He might be like one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. I love that man.
You so have to get him on a Friday night, Chris.
Egan and Josh.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, it's been last 3 shows.
Because then you can have a real scientist on. Oh, sorry, I wasn't going to do that anymore. I'm sorry, Amanda.
Those are fighting words.
Shots are fired.
I'm trying to make up for Jay not being here.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I guess you two can fight over the biggest arsehole award this month. It's I think I'm safe. I don't think I'm going to win it.
I think I might actually have it.
Andy's on the verge right now, so
I don't know. I might have it in the bag, Amanda.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'll do a shout out to
I can't show you my beer, but you might be able to hear it. Hang on, let's try this.
Oh, I heard it.
No.
It's a Foster's.
Cheers.
No, it's
No.
not.
It sounded like a screw top or a bottle cap.
Yeah, it's a cap.
It was indeed. It's Han Super Dry. There we go.
Okay, yeah.
Cheers.
Yep,
Cheers.
Bring to that. So, hello to a few of the people in the chat. So, look, if I miss anyone, I apologise. I'm just kind of going through as I see them. So, Autobot, good to see you. Ilya Moon, Math Pig, Gary Priestley, best name ever. Of course, Dr. Josh, Art, love you, man. I've got to get that recording for you because in 3 weeks we've got the roast of Ken Ann coming up, which is going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Order some ham.
Yes, so got the Scummer, Jeff, good to see you, my friend. Critical Cripple Dave.
Hey.
I'm not too sure who was first actually today. I think
it was Jeff.
I think Jeff actually got in first. I think Jeff beat Dave. So you two are going to have to sort that out. Yeah,
Dave's actually been off his game a bit lately, just a little bit.
He has.
Yeah.
He has.
Is he okay?
Well, he seems to be when we've been talking to him in other streams and in private, but I'm a bit worried about him.
Yeah, so Jessa, good to see you, mate. Good to see you, Jessa.
It's just more competition because there's more people online because everyone's at home.
I'm Matt Pig and Jassa.
Yeah.
Chris forgot you.
No, I didn't. I said hi to Matt Pig.
You did not.
He did.
I did not forget Matt Pig.
He did.
Okay.
He said hi to Jassa as well.
So.
Okay. So I can say hi to Matt. So Matt Pig, a second hello because we must.
Hi, Matt Pig. Yo.
Amanda was
everyone. Hello,
around.
Amanda was too busy thinking about climate change.
I'm thinking about the end of the world. I can't fucking help it. Okay.
Isn't climate change just a hoax?
The Chinese hoax, of course. Everybody knows that.
Of course, yeah. It didn't. We all know.
So who's fucking paying me then? The Chinese?
NASA.
Is that it?
NASA. Yeah, NASA.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Didn't you go
now.
from one NASA shield to another?
Oh.
I guess.
The conspiracy goes right to the top of the atheist community.
Notice that the photos in Amanda's background are mysteriously gone.
Well, that's because I'm in a different room today.
Oh.
And notice how fast she's rising in subscribers. That would only be the case if NASA were pumping up her numbers.
And not to mention, Jay was giving her a hard time last week, and Jay's not here this week.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I haven't heard from Jay in over a week.
Yeah.
I buried him under my house.
Okay, well, that's all right. Well, someone's been out there so we can go and visit. Oh, dear. I like it. Christian in the chat said that Dave's got a shock collar on and he can't woof as much anymore. That could be it. So, with everything that's... I thought it was funny. I'm sorry. Oh, far out.
It's all right, Chris. We're just punishing you.
Middle of the week, and everyone's just
you defending the joke was funny. I'm sorry.
That's brilliant.
I'm glad I could help. So one thing this pandemic has brought on, I've noticed lately, is look, the Christian crazies are generally pretty crazy anyway. but I've just found they're really coming out of the woodwork at the moment. And we always knew that they were going to blame everything. Of course, it was going to be the fault of them gays and all that kind of stuff. And and that's of course why all this is happening, because God got cranky about what people do in their bedrooms. So I guess we're what I did want to do is bring up. Oh, Jay, I love you, man. I love you, Jay.
You had to, didn't you? I've already done that. I didn't have to do it. He's come into chat to take it on. If he's going to sit there, Amanda, I'll just leave you alone.
He's tweeting from under the house, so that's good. So I guess I wanted to bring up some of the crazier Christian stuff that I've seen in the last week, and I guess just have a chat and see what you guys have managed to dig up. And
sure.
So I thought we'd start with I think one of all of our favourites. Shit, I've lost it. I'll find it in a second.
I'm getting some vibes. I can see letters S, J.
No, I thought I'd leave SJ to you guys, because SJ's kind of...
She's been moderate-ish around COVID.
She actually hasn't been that bad over COVID, to be quite honest. She even advocated on taking straight services online. So...
Well, that's good. Actually, I found there's been a few that have come out and sort of said, no, just stay inside. But then, you get all the crazies who want to.
I got a good one.
No, there's nothing wrong. Jesus is going to help us. So,
can I just say something about SJ? She stole my idea. She stole the whole idea about bestiality brothels. It was something.
Was hilarious.
It was a niche market that I was trying to break into, but she stole my idea. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
You do know that she's got that soundbite now, don't you?
You're more of a furry anyway.
Yeah.
She did post that whole thing about healing through prayer and how they should use that with COVID.
Yeah, she's been better than most Christians, but she's had her moments, definitely, I think.
Yeah. Like her advice to physically locate yourself in isolation and not go to meetings has been good. Whether or not her theological bent on what you can achieve through Christian means, that's something else, but at least she's not like some of these others that are portioning out blame or acting irresponsibly or profiteering.
Yeah, on purposely,
No, they wouldn't do that, would they? They wouldn't profiteer off something like this, surely.
Business is business.
Yeah. But my thing when it comes to these...
personally, but she certainly encourages it in others. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, my thing when it comes to these Christians talking about COVID-19, here in the States especially, it seems to be linked to politics. The orange president says it, so the Christians believe it.
Well, when he's doing that fucking drug now, too, the lupus drug, and he's just like, he did say, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but what's it going to hurt? Like, fuck you, it's going to kill people.
The drug can literally kill people.
What do you have to lose, or something like that was his phrasing.
Yeah, what do you have to lose? Your fucking life?
So basically, Pascal's wager about getting a virus and dying.
Awesome.
Yeah.
In a million years, it won't matter, so give it a shot.
That is true.
That's right.
So the first one I want to bring up, and I'm about to do a screen share, Jen.
No, I told you that's easier with tonight's one, so go for it.
All good. So our good friend Ken Ham, Ken never ever lets us down, ever. So this is a multi-part tweet, and I'm not going to read it all, but we don't need the little Isaiah 45 thing, but God's in control of everything. He's allowed the coronavirus situation for his purposes. So it's a warning to a nation that, so abortion, of course, saying that God's not welcome in schools and rejects nativity scenes. So apparently God gave the world coronavirus because America rejects nativity scenes. So America, if you can let Jesus back into the schools, we'll all be fine. He then goes on to, a cross is in public places rejected in America. Like, you guys are virtually a theocracy, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, we're closer and closer every day, I think.
Obviously not on paper, but it's becoming that way. It really is. So
Culturally, if not lawfully.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or legally, I should say.
Which is why I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Australia. You love it. You love Australia.
But do we need a climate change scientist in Australia, Chris?
Well, yeah, because we've got to keep selling the lie. We need to sell the lie.
Yeah, that's true.
You understand that Chris lives very close to the ocean, so he could lose, his entire town. So
I've seen flood maps around me. I'm okay.
I'm slightly up a hill, so I could have water. I'm going out and mining the coal myself.
What is that show where they increase the water level so they get more coastal land because they bought inner land? There's a movie that's got that as a plot point.
There you go. I might have
really?
checked it out as a documentary. So as we can see, he goes on. He really goes all out here, Ken. He talks about the religion of atheism being imposed. So we've got to stop imposing our religion of atheism. Notice how he's saying it's a nation. So it's because of what's happening in America, because America's the only place in the world. It's not like it originated in China, and Italy, and in Spain, and every other country. It's all America. It's all.
To be fair, they're in first place.
Well, that's
well, according to recorded numbers, but
well, we're number one. We're number one.
I reckon China's probably really number one, but officially. Yeah,
it's my favorite thing about being in America is they'd like to think that they're number one in everything, and then you just point at the stats and say, no, we're actually like 50th in just about everything. So,
well, having said all that, Australia has a real lacking of decent weather girls, so you'd probably fit right in here, Amanda.
God fucking damn it!
Amanda, you're allowed to return serve whenever you feel like it. But yeah, so Ken, so that's Ken. He's at it. So he's blaming the pagan religion of evolution and millions of years. The drag queens, perversion through drag queens, LGBTQ. But I love it how he ends this. He ends this with. Be warned, America and all Western nations. Be warned, world. Very ominous. Ominous. Wow. But what I like is the first thing I see is our good mate Ansgar with. So Ansgar in the chat, mate.
I believe they got blocked for that too.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
he did.
Yeah, I saw a response saying, "That's all it took to get blocked."
Wow.
But objection first. So just to go back to Ken Ham, so he's positioning this as a warning, right?
Yes.
You don't warn someone after you hit them. That's not a warning. That's a punishment.
Yeah.
So
but God's all about punishment.
And it proves that his God is not love.
Yeah.
Even posted this in November last year. That's a warning.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely not a warning.
She's trying to jump in. Yep.
Well, I was just gonna say, you can grant everything that Ken Ham is saying here, and he's right about everything. And then you have to ask the question, well, why does God suck at punishing so much? Why can't He point that finger and kill off all these people that are doing that and leave all these faithful Christians alone? It's really ridiculous to even come to this reasoning.
Well, I mean, we are dealing with an entity that couldn't defeat iron chariots in the about 3,000 years ago. So we're not talking about the most complex deity of them all. He's a pretty crap one.
He did weaponize bad.
And given all the Christians still insisting on going to church and that, they're probably going to be one of the highest. The religious are going to be one of the highest death toll areas. So that says a lot for their God.
Hang on. You know exactly what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is because 95% of people who get this thing are fine. So there's going to be all these miraculous cures, and the church prayed for Sister Faith over there, and then she's healed, by Jesus' stripe. It's just going to be they're going to live off that. They're going to love that stuff. So that was. So I don't want to get everyone excited, but Ray's been at it too. I know we all love Ray. Apparently there's four really good things about the virus. And of course, that just leads to an article he wrote that's really just the usual shit. And ultimately it just goes to shill for his online school of biblical evangelism, which is a great thing that you can do now. So if anyone ever wants to look at some
$75 fucking dollars? Jesus Christ.
Hang on. it's down from 150.
Oh, he's got a half price, Amanda. He's being reasonable.
Do you get?
Not in that anymore. That's just covering costs.
Do you get a free banana with your subscription?
Yes,
You get a bunch of bananas. You get the whole. You get a whole banana.
It's made of latex and comes with batteries.
It's about $76 worth more than it actually is. Yeah.
What I love is each lesson takes about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how in depth you study it. Trust me, there isn't that much in depth to study. There is actually a sample quiz that you can do, and there's scientific facts in the Bible. And I thought maybe later we could go over some scientific facts with Mama Atheist, and maybe you can just point out the truth for us. So,
Are you saying
drinking already though?
Shall I say it for Jay because he's not here?
No, shut the
No, we're going to leave her alone. We're going to leave her alone because she's going to be more famous than us next week, and we're all going to be begging for
You're going to get ready to write those
I don't want her upset. I don't want her upset.
I'll definitely remember that next time I come on. Bring jokes for Mama Atheist.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Or not toward, please.
But they're more fun toward.
It's always me. It's always Amanda.
She's become besties with my wife.
Not anybody else.
You know what? You know what's going to happen to me? Any time I say anything or the joke's made, I get this ominous. These eyes come around the corner and give me this death glare of as soon as you're off, you're fucking dead.
Yes, and you know she will. You know she will.
On camera when you make fun of Amanda. That's the only way you.
No, because she's probably listening. She'll come and do that now. So
that's why I said.
Hey, Chris's wife is my BFF. She will always stand up for me against you, Chris. So
I know.
Fine.
She likes you better than she likes me. The head's popped around the corner. Don't you worry. The head's popped around the corner. Everyone say hi to Lissy.
Hey, Lissy.
Hi, Lissy.
Hi.
Remember, you need to hit with the hips, not just the arm. Right? You got to get that whole motion going.
Dear, don't give her ideas. I'm telling you, don't give her ideas. And she's complaining that it's too echoey in here. We've just set up in the new.
Jay, thank you so much. Yes, I'm half Pom, so screw you, Jay.
Now, the biggest douchebag of the week wasn't either Ken or Ray, and that's impressive to say the least. The Pope Francis. Today he had something to say, and there's a bit of context to the tweet, but I think most people have heard of George Pell. So George Pell was or is still a cardinal. He was convicted of historical child sex crimes. I think it was about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And sentenced. He spent about 400 odd days in jail, and he's appealed. And apparently there was some question around a few things. I looked into it, and I don't really see where the question is. But I will say this: none of us were in the trial. None of us know all the details. None of us are judges. But a jury did convict. A jury of his peers did convict, and then the appeal was overturned. And then it's gone to this other. The High Court, I think it was, or the Supreme Court, and they've overturned or quashed the conviction. So Pope Francis thought that it was the day to put this up. Talking about Lent and witnessing that persecution of Jesus underwent and how he was judged ferociously even though he was innocent, followed by let's pray together for all those persons who suffered due to an unjust sentence because of someone. His grammar's terrible. That's really bad grammar. Because of someone had it in for them.
Cool.
How fucking unclassy is that?
Putrid.
It's like he's saying that someone has it in for the Catholic Church because they haven't been raping little boys and girls for how long now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because there's nothing to see. Obviously, nothing to see. But no, I think it's just absolutely disgusting. And the Pope is someone who you would think, look, he's a douchebag. He's a religious arsehole, and from what I can see, he's not the nice, kind, caring Pope that everyone thought he was. He's just like the rest of them. But
no, he's not.
Were any of them though? Sorry, Amanda.
Oh, there's a dog barking at a bear. But realistically, you would think that there would be someone there who would say this is probably not a good idea, considering the history of the Catholic Church. I mean, the way that they're acting, you'd think that every single pedophile in the Catholic Church ever has now had their conviction overturned, and really, no one's been found innocent here. All that's happened is a conviction's been quashed.
I think technically it's an innocent verdict. So technically he's being acquitted, so it's the same as being found innocent. From what I read, the one of the concerns, I think there was a couple, but the one that stuck with me mostly, was that on appeal, one of the factors that they considered was whether or not the jury properly considered the idea of reasonable doubt, and they decided that the jury had not considered reasonable doubt as it came to the testimony of the victims and the defense, and that was one of the factors that they used to overturn it, which I think is really distressing, that a jury's decision, which is one of the basis of our justice system, is that you get judged by a jury of your peers, not by judges when it comes to these matters, and the fact they decided to overturn that is not okay.
I find that really disturbing. It's like the whole point of the concept of the jury is that the jury is convinced beyond reasonable doubt, so that to bring the jury's verdict in that into question actually puts a question mark over our whole legal system.
I'm pretty confident
that's not to say that innocent people do sometimes get convicted.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It can happen. So that's not to discount that. And I am very careful because obviously there are rules in Australia about contempt of court. So I think it is important to, I guess, concede that none of us have all the facts, all the details, but it's certainly something concerning. And certainly the tweet that went out today, even if it is a case of he is innocent, which I'm not commenting on either way, but even if he was, it is still absolutely in poor taste, especially considering the historical crimes that have been committed by representatives of the Catholic Church.
Well, I think given the context of the Catholic Church and how they have treated this issue for decades, that the tweet is the tweet is exactly what you'd expect from this organization. They close ranks, they protect their not priests, bishops or whatever. They move them to different places and they shelter them. So this tweet is just them acting like the Catholic Church. Like it's not out of character from what I read out of it.
And this would have been a money thing from the Catholic Church. They would have invested a fuck ton of money to get this overturned, because it's one thing having the priest getting convicted, but having somebody who was so far up in the hierarchy of the church getting convicted just is not okay.
That was going to be my point. Just the optics of it. So even if the Catholic Church didn't put any money into this at all, you're talking about the Catholic Church, one of the most powerful religious organizations in the world, one of the richest. They had a vested interest in this man being found innocent. And yeah, I think the optics of it, if you're going to release this man, you need to release all the information on why you did so, because the optics is, the Catholic Church wanted this to happen.
Yeah, and I've said before, my uncle is a Monsignor in the church, and you try to talk to him about this, and he will literally just get up and leave the room. He will not engage in any discussion about the abuse that the priests have acted towards. He just won't. He will literally just fucking leave.
There's an element of denial.
Yeah.
Is that where can I ask if that's where it's coming from, or is it because it's too close to the bone, or what's the reason there?
He doesn't want to admit to it that it's real, and therefore will walk away. And I mean, he's older. He's in his mid-70s, but he's been with the church pretty much since he was an adult. And like I said, he's a Monsignor, so he's pretty high up. He works in the Vatican sometimes, and it's because he's a Monsignor in Europe. It's not here in America.
I think is
it because he doesn't want? Is it because he doesn't want to talk about work?
What was that, Bear?
Is it because he doesn't want to talk about work when he's at home?
No, he talks about work all the time. He talks about he talks about what he does for the church. He pushes his shit on me because he knows He doesn't know that I'm an atheist, but he knows that I have questions. I've never actually admitted to him that I am, but he can pretty much tell him. My mother won't tell him, but he has no problem. He will go on and on and on about what he does with the church. But if you bring up the sex scandal, he will fucking leave. So
I think there's
a lot of them are like that.
Sorry, I think there's probably two sides to that, Amanda. There's the element that if you were somebody in the church who didn't do those things, you're in denial that they actually happened. You think these are just people with, as the Pope said, people with grudges to grind and shit like that. And then there's those who did do these things, they just want it all hushed because they don't want the fingers pointed at them if they haven't already had it done so. So
see, I feel like he knows that it happened. And I know he didn't. He's not participated in it. There's no scandal around him at all. It has nothing to do with him. Yeah. But I just think that he is so enamored with the Catholic Church. It is such a huge part of his life that if you say anything to disparage it whatsoever, he's fucking on. And this just breaks him.
Not to keep going on it, can I just ask one more thing? Do you think that there's a sense of powerlessness that he feels like as a human?
Yes, I really do. I know it hurts him because I know how he feels about sexual abuse, especially with kids, and I think that's part of it. But he also feels like he has no choice but to stand up for this organization that he's been with for 50-something years. It's been his life. That's it. He's never, he's a professor as well. He's a Monsignor and he's a professor in religious studies. And this is his life. It has been for a very long time. So
yeah, I think if you devote your life to something and you put your energy into it, I think the human thing is you're gonna put that thing way up there on a pedestal, and it's going to be you're going to defend it, and you're not going to want to see it in a bad light. And I think that's the hard thing about what we try to do here on YouTube is break through that indoctrination and get them to see the bad things that they're not seeing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I know even Matthew, who the former Catholic priest, who he's been on a couple of times with us on Six Pack, and he was kind of in not the exact spot that Pell was, but certainly within that sort of state and that area. So he knew Pell, and he sort of knew a lot of the people involved. He said when it all happened, he was quite surprised, and there was even, you could sort of see there's still that little bit of uncomfortableness from him, because I guess even though he's out of it now and he's very much an atheist, you can see when he talks about it, there's still that, was this stuff actually happening while I was around, and that real, I guess, confusion almost with it could have been happening under people's noses. So I think there can be a little bit of this.
I could totally understand that. Like if something happened and I wasn't aware of it and I found out about it, I'd obsess about it nonstop. And like, could I have stopped it? Could I have done something? Should I have seen it? Yeah, I could totally understand that thinking.
And it's easy to latch onto the Catholic Church as well, because there's such a unified central hierarchy to that particular brand of Christianity. But I don't believe that it's something that's unique to them, and it just so happens that other types of Christianity are smaller. Like I know within splintered groups like the AOG, which are now Australian Christian churches or whatever, they had their share of scandals, but because they were spread throughout lots of different churches, there was others as well that I heard of that like when I was in the church that I would hear about, and like they weren't big news because of these little small churches that were independent, so they didn't hit the national newspapers. And like I even heard like years later someone that I knew that was faux leadership in it that got involved in some of that stuff, and it's just the nature of anything where they don't think that the rules necessarily apply to them, and they get this moral licensing where they start to blur the lines because they're under so much stress because of the unnatural rules they put upon themselves as people.
Well, yeah, and I can understand too that people who are predators would probably gravitate towards institutions like the churches, churches, schools, positions where they're placed in leadership and positions of trust. That would be a natural place for people like that to go. But the issue is that rather than dealing with this, it just gets covered up, and you get people who just get moved from parish to parish or from church to church, or it's just it's just swept, and they're just no longer allowed to go to the church, and they're just sent to a different one to be a part of that community. So And like you said, Sam, it's as if they feel they've got this moral superiority so they can deal with it themselves, when really it should just go straight to the police.
Yeah, and that's the discussion now. You know, where's Pell going to go? Where's the Catholic? Is the Catholic Church going to, you know, revoke his status? But I don't think so. I think you're right. I think they'll do what they always do, and they'll just move him as far away as they can, and try to not talk about it.
Yeah, he'll be back in Rome. He'll be back in Rome.
But it is, the statistics are, and it's 6% of Catholic priests that have been found in America, at least, to abuse children, and that is a huge fucking number. It is huge.
Yeah, and we're finding more and more. Like just here in Michigan, last year we had this big thing where they went in deep to the Catholic Church, and I think over 200 priests were arrested in that sting.
You know, I have a question though. Do you think it has to do with the celibacy aspect of being a priest in the Catholic Church?
I think it has something to do with it, definitely. I think when you have repressed sexuality, then people, after a certain amount of time, are going to express it unhealthy.
Yeah, I agree. I really think, and they've talked about it, even the Pope has talked about, you know, allowing priests to be able to, you know, have sex. Or I don't know if it was marry. Obviously, I guess if they're going to have sex in the Catholic Church, they'd have to be married. But I really think that needs to change because most of the other religions don't do this. And I really think that this is an issue because it is about repressed sexuality, but it's also about a power dynamic that priests have and feel. And I think, you know, there's a certain type of person that is, you know, attracted to this job where they have, you know, it's just like cops. They have a certain amount of power in their position and it makes them feel good and that attracts them. And having this power and having the repressed sexuality ends up, you know, resulting in this.
Yeah, I also think that their very harsh stance on homosexuality has a lot to do with it as well. A lot of these cases are priests and young boys, and I think that really hard stance that the Vatican takes on homosexuality has a lot to do with it.
But it's
historically, a lot of priests would get into the priesthood, and we're talking going back 100 years, because they were gay.
Yeah,
and that's where they all went, and it was a bit of a, especially in Italy, it used to be a bit of a thing where they'd all sort of snicker, oh, he's that way, so he's going to the priesthood.
Yeah, well, you had that male prostitute come out a couple years ago with list of cardinals that him and his cohorts were seeing regularly, and I think that this Pope pushed that under the rug as well. But I do remember that coming out a couple years ago. They talked about it for about a week or two, and then they just stopped talking about it.
Too easy. Now, very quickly, Lissy, if I don't think she's in the chat, but if you're listening, could you grab me a beer, darling? I love you. Well, the way I'm blocked off in this room, she was worried that there was an echo, so I don't even think I can get through what she's set up. I mean, it's just like that's what she's put together there. So it's I think I'm kind of stuck in here. So
but she can get in, but you can't get out. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, you still need to ask her when the kitchen was right, to be fair.
Why don't you just do what I do and get a little cooler and fucking put it next to you?
Oh no,
that's dedication there, Amanda. That's dedication.
No, that's laziness. That's what it is.
No. Dedication sounds better.
We've only set this up half an hour before. We only set this room up half an hour before we came on, so it's a bit of a rush. I've even got a really.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're an Aussie. The first thing that goes in there is the beverage. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I know.
And you knew you were drinking.
And I'm ashamed of myself. See.
Hi, hon.
Oh, okay. And she's showing me I can get out, and I'm not trapped. She's showing me the exits.
And the exits are here, and here.
Actually, can you get me the? Well, I'll show you what I've got for the background.
The Pope walks in, a mask will drop from the sky, so you can pretend you're a gimp for him.
I've got that for the back there.
Oh.
That's gorgeous.
So we've
That
got
is
that.
gorgeous.
That's awesome.
That's nice.
No, that's a good movie because there's no whiny little Luke in it.
Nope, not that one. Nope, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Oh, that's good. That's
Oh,
good.
movie. Okay. Yeah,
Make
nice.
it a theme. Stick with the Star Wars.
No.
They're both Marvel.
The theme is Disney, so Marvel, Star
Fuck
Wars,
Disney. Fuck Disney. So
Aladdin,
fucking
Lion
hard. Oh my
King.
god.
You know what? I think
Uncle
it's fair
Walt.
to say that
Somebody's gonna kill me.
Just put lightsaber claws on them, and you got Star Wars.
You know, between talking shit
I'm just
about the
wondering,
Catholic
because,
Church and
That'll be
Disney, I'm
cool.
fucking
Oh,
dead, by the way.
Cam, I
Everyone's
can't
talking at
hear
once.
anything.
I was just going to ask something for Amanda. Considering that, okay, if there's anyone who hasn't seen episode 9 and you don't want to be spoiled, just don't listen for a second. But Amanda, considering Rey is the granddaughter of the Emperor, it kind of makes her a princess, yes?
Yeah, I guess. But she's still not technically a Skywalker if you're going that direction.
No,
She just
no.
called herself one.
No, but you know what she is? Rey is a Disney princess.
Oh, fuck you. Well, you know what? I don't really like Rey
So
anyway,
is
so it's
Leia.
fine.
So is
And
Leia,
you know what?
apparently.
No.
Absolutely. And that also
She was-
makes Kylo Prince Charming.
Leia was a princess
Oh my
before
God.
Disney bought it out. And seriously, though, fuck this. I am so dead between talking shit about the Catholic Church and talking shit about Disney. I have assassins coming for me, so next life, everybody.
You are talking about the two most evil institutions in the world.
Yeah, Disney's trying to take over the world, so
For reals, yo. Seriously.
Well, I think Disney just bought the Catholic Church, didn't they?
I think Amanda's just walked into, conspiracy theorist territory here.
No, this shit is real, yo.
No.
I've got all the
Taxi!
I've got all this cool stuff from when I had the comic shop, and there was a few things, and yes, I dropped Leia. There was a few things that I had as
Leia's
packing
down.
things up and getting things online. I'm just like, nah, that's not going online. That's going straight.
All right, I'm going to take a picture today of Angel's room, Chris. You will see what a Star Wars fan looks like.
No.
Is it clean?
It's not safe. We're talking about a kid who's on lockdown and using up all your bandwidth with porn.
I just meant the Star Wars stuff.
It's just going to be nothing but tissues.
Can I advise you to put it? Can I advise to put a mask on before you enter that room?
Amanda?
Yeah, you'd be better off with COVID.
Amanda, how hard is it to wash his sheets?
It's
I know, it's just a single sock.
Ooh.
All the
They're like
socks,
pieces of
yeah.
It has
cardboard.
nothing to do with that. So, I don't know.
You know,
He is
what?
16.
Poor Angel's going to tune into this one day and just go, like, fuck
He's
it.
gonna fucking kill me. He will be on my show this weekend with Mr. Bear, though. So that will be fun. It's
Yeah, we'll
something
get
for
to-
him to fucking do.
Yeah,
There you
we'll
go.
get to talk about his hardwood bed sheets and how you have to fold them to get them into the washing machine.
It's like cardboard.
Do you have to nail them on the bed, Amanda?
Hardwood.
yeah, you can do like my dad. My dad was military. We had to do those military corners when we made our bed.
No, he's so
Oh,
far
wow.
down the hall. So, it's just when he's stuck in the bathroom, you can hear me laugh at him.
You are talking about the kid who couldn't figure out how to clean his own ass.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you just jump in the shower. That's easy.
He did. Eventually, he did because he ran out of toilet paper, sat there for almost a half an hour, and texted me. Said, "I don't know what to do." So I'm laughing
It
at
would have been
him.
dry by then anyway.
Fuck you! Stop laughing at me. I can hear you.
And Amanda's texting me this as it happens, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Next time you're going to live tweet that shit.
Yeah, she live tweeted it to
You
me.
have got to live tweet it.
I don't know what to say.
I can't remember what we were talking about before this happened, but it totally derailed the entire conversation. It was hilarious.
I was just about to throw back to that. So I guess moving on. So Christian douchebags on Twitter.
Oh, we were talking about that.
Yes, every which way. Which
We
normally
had to lighten the mood with George Bell.
Oh, God.
This is why we shouldn't drink on
That's right,
streams,
yes.
or why we should drink on streams. One of the two. But,
Yeah.
It is not my fault.
and now we've broken Amanda.
Amanda, it is entirely your fault. You had him. It's entirely your fault.
Okay, yeah, that is true.
Actually, Jen, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You already did.
Is that a whiny face?
Oh,
Looks
it
like a
is.
bit of
It
a
is.
whiny face.
Yeah, it is.
And that was the last time we ever saw Amanda.
That was the straw. That was
Oh,
the straw.
yeah, that was well done, Chris.
So who else have we got in the Christian tweeting world at the moment that I guess is standing out?
Well, there was that. I sent you that video about those assholes that were, going to church and they're washed in the blood of Christ, so they can't catch it or whatever.
Ah, that's right. Yes.
Was that the one that Mero posted this morning?
I posted it a couple days ago. I don't know about.
Well, I would have seen it when you posted it. I remember one this morning though. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. Because I believe
actually, I think I had. Yeah, I think that's a. So if you have a look, it's on the caring atheist.
Just as a side note, I did have a bit of a discourse on Twitter with some absolute geniuses. Well, one particular genius, and that was quite funny.
Wait, did we talk?
No, not that kind of genius.
a theist genius.
Ah.
And what did
Was
the
he
thief
favorite kind?
say?
Well, I don't know if I can't share. Can I? Can I share there?
Yeah, you can.
If
You
got a
can
side
share.
note.
You can
Okay.
share. Yep.
Yep.
I'll see if I can.
Sharing is caring.
But social distance.
We're getting some good ones in the chat. Obviously, SJ Thompson, Pastor Greg Locke.
I do have a good one loaded up, ready to go.
Excellent. Well, do you want to throw yours up first, and then we'll
Have you found
jump
it,
across
Mr.
the
Bear?
bears?
I have indeed. I'm not sure if you can see this at all. Is that coming through?
Oh, why
Yes,
is there a
we
naked
got
bear on the screen?
Pornhub.com/bearsex. What?
Yeah, hang on.
Wait a minute.
Actually, isn't the dancing bear
So,
a thing?
Yeah. I mean, what? No.
we don't talk about it. It's,
you're always
you know,
way too quick with those answers.
yeah, it's history.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway.
I saw that.
Yeah, I like this one.
It started with Fiona, a fellow Catholic. Well, I'm ex-Catholic, but anyway, she said that is this the real reason for the 6 feet rule to condition us for facial recognition cameras?
This was nuts.
So I basically said no, it's not. But then this fellow jumped in, named Adrian Mario, and Adrian Mario is I confess Jesus Christ as our only Saviour. Amen.
Hang on.
He said,
jailed and raped by an NWO beast?
oh, sorry, yeah, let me go. I skipped over that part. Right now, I'm just jailed and raped by NWO beast, as you too. Yeah.
I'm thinking Adrian's probably not all.
All there?
Yeah.
He's not all there because basically he says, I went on to share information about China's megapixel camera that can work in crowds in stadiums, basically, and just scan faces. And I said, look, it's called research. And then his reply was, in his loving Christian way, it's called jackass.
He showed you, Bear. He showed you.
That's brilliant rhetoric right there.
Oh, damn. Yeah, you've been owned.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and then I said, facts are called jackass. Are you just out for a troll, are you? He said, no, you are a troll.
So facts
The simple
propaganda.
word facts shows
damn.
yes, propaganda word facts shows
Yeah.
that, yeah. So
Propaganda word.
it gets better. It gets better. It doesn't go for long. So
Does he go nya nya nya?
I'm loving
he
this.
well, Well, look, he basically goes on to say, look, it was an irony from Fiona, but you were too smart to understand that. So he's claiming that it's irony that she posted this. So I asked, do you know Fiona's intentions now? How? And his reply was, I know his intentions.
Well, hang on.
Because I'm smart.
Yeah.
Well, Fiona looks very much to be a woman. So he knows his intentions because he's smart.
Oh. That's good to know.
He's not trying to refer to Jesus somehow. Like, you know, oh, no, don't worry about Fiona. I know his intentions.
Jesus is going by Fiona now?
No, but, you know...
That could work.
Sorry, I'm trying to get in the mind of an idiot, so it's tough.
I thought that would be easy, Sam. I really thought that would be easy.
Just go back and channel your inner Christian rapping days.
So that was my interesting discourse with Adrian Mario. Yeah.
Well, Adrian seems like a very witty and intelligent person. Oh, we've lost Sam.
That was because two people did removal at the same time. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah. So I mentioned Christian rap and Sam dropped out. So
yeah,
I'm being censored.
You are not. Who else had one?
I think Sam actually had something to go up.
Yeah, I've got something.
Sam.
So this was shared on Twitter, but it's not a tweet that I'm sharing. Don't show me that. Let's go. If someone can read that out, because that'll be too small on the screen for me, but it makes me very sad.
I can read it if nobody else can.
Oh, Pat Robinson. Oh, yeah. Excellent.
During an appearance on the 700 Club, Robertson blamed the coronavirus on oral sex. Some of these young'uns are doing all kinds of unnatural things with their sex organs, said Robertson.
Wait for the end.
When people do that, they transfer all kinds of chemicals from ladies' private parts, and that's where I think the virus came from. We never had this kind of thing when I was coming up. Haha, pun. But no one was committing oral sex back then. Robertson previously blamed 9/11 on witches and lesbians.
The important thing here is he's clearly blaming women, so blowjobs are still cool, fellas. You're good.
It's only a problem if you lick a twat.
All right.
Well, I was going to say, you're telling me Robertson has stuck his dick in a weird place, but sure, that too.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious Robertson likes a bit of cock now and then, so...
I don't know. I have a question on if like Robertson can still use it because he's like ancient. So
did he ever?
It did have. Well, we know what kind of sex he's not having.
Yeah, somebody said Hugh Hefner, so I have to take that back. Yeah, it's possible.
His poor partner.
You don't think that Hugh Hefner wasn't on all the fucking blue pills? Come on. That shit was like I'm sure he took handfuls a day. There's no fucking way he kept up with his multiple girlfriends. No.
Yeah, I think he had a blue pill addiction, honestly.
Oh, absolutely.
Wouldn't he be more likely to take the red pill though? Sorry, that was a bad joke.
It was classic Jen.
Yes, but, thanks, Chris.
Actually, has anyone seen Kenneth Copeland stuff?
Well, and Autobot does point out, yes, the coronavirus can be spread through oral sex, of course, but this what Robertson is saying is clearly ridiculous.
Yeah, well, Robertson is ridiculous.
Everything he says is ridiculous. Wasn't he going to run for president at one point?
I think so. Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah.
I'm going to share a video that was retweeted this morning that I just couldn't believe I saw. So.
Yeah.
Wait, Ken, I'm going to send you something.
I haven't seen this with sound yet.
Oh, the wind. Yeah,
wait. No, I haven't seen this one yet. This is going to be good.
It just fucking looks evil.
He looks so angry.
Listen to him blow.
Alright, done.
He's laughing at himself.
No, he's just going,
At least
buy this shit.
like minions are doing the social distancing thing, kind of. Because they're all around. It's not
I'm just waiting for him to go, and now, young Jedi, you will die.
That's right.
Yeah, this is like an audition tape for Disney.
Palpatine there. Yeah.
I think Disney just bought Kenneth Copeland Ministries.
It's actually his audition tape for Return of the Jedi.
When he thinks he's done something deep or something momentous, he stops and this big grin appears on his face and he's like, holy shit, it's working. And then he just keeps going. Like, if you watch it again, you'll see there's just moments where his face lights up. I'm getting away with it.
Show what I just sent you, Ben. The look on his face is insane.
One day it's going to come out.
What do you want me to do, Amanda?
I just sent you, it's like a screenshot thing. Just the look on his face.
Hang on.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I need to get out of where I'm at, and you sent me something. Okay, where is it?
Your DMs?
He reminds me of Pennywise's and Palpatine's love child.
Yeah.
Why is it not Pennywise?
Elements.
Okay. Do you guys know who Angel and I figured out who Palpatine fucked? And it was, if you watch Solo, the Emilia Clarke, her character.
I've got some bad news for you.
What?
Oh, okay.
It's already been revealed.
Yeah.
Who then?
He is so creepy, isn't he?
Just no one?
Palpatine's son was a clone of Palpatine, but when
that makes no sense. He didn't look a goddamn thing like him.
No, well, it's movies. But when you clone, the midi-chlorians don't come with the cloning. So the son, it was basically Palpatine without Force powers, but then because it's genetic, Rey got the Palpatine line.
Yeah.
That's fucking... Where did you hear that?
It's in the book.
Yeah.
In what fucking book?
Disney wrote a whole episode. Yeah, they in
no, and they padded that shit up. I'm telling you.
Even at the start of the movie,
I'm going with our our theory. It's so much better than that.
Khaleesi.
So much better.
Whatever floats your boat, Amanda. Whatever you have to tell yourself to make you feel better about how crap Star Wars is.
The last three movies, yes. I'm getting into this shit.
Hang on, that makes Jon Snow Rey's cousin.
I could show you my fucking... I have like a Game of Thrones altar in my room. So... I have the Game of Thrones shit and
that must be from that religion of atheism.
That too.
And evolutionism.
Darwinian evolutionism. Get it right, Chris.
Yes, Kent Hovind warned me about that. He said it was coming.
Darwinism, evolutionism.
Yeah, because it's clearly a big religion. I swear, there's got to be Christians who are getting like sound grabs from some of the jokes we make.
I don't give a fuck. Come at me, bro.
That's definitely a sound grab.
That'll be a sound bite.
Yeah, I can send some of mine to you guys.
Seriously, Amanda, when you say "come at me" like that, it sounds like you want a facial.
Well, I mean, I have to watch this fucking house for so long.
She did tell Mark Sargent to suck a dick. So.
Yeah, exactly.
That
would be giving a facial.
What do we got next from the Christian world?
What's going on? What?
What do we got next from the Christian world? And
I sent you
on the screen there.
Yeah, Jen put it up and then took it down because you're all talking about Star Wars shit again.
No, I don't mean Jen. I mean I sent Chris stuff. I did do my fucking homework.
Yeah, sorry, I know you did. Yeah. Hang on, I'll get it and give me a second. See, I get in trouble.
While we're waiting for Chris, my video going up today is kind of on this subject. And on Facebook here in the States, at least, a lot of people are jumping on this Project 201. And because this company in October ran a simulated model of what would happen during a pandemic. They used the coronavirus, an unknown coronavirus, as their source disease for the pandemic. Well, obviously, then this is all staged and a complete hoax, and that's the proof that anybody needs. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen Project 201, I will deal with it in my video a little bit today, but just look it up. I mean, it's a needed scientific study for pandemics, and just because it happened in October of last year, then there's got to be a conspiracy.
Yeah, because there's never ever been any study of the pandemics ever before.
I so wish that I had the scripts up so I could highlight what Amanda just said. But I'm going to say it instead.
Like, we literally wrote it at the same time.
Yeah, because, man, she's a mouthy bitch today, says Jay. And Amanda goes, I'm realizing I'm getting really fucking mouthy when I'm drunk. But I'd like to point out, Amanda, you're really fucking mouthy when you're not drunk.
That's true.
And you know what? We wouldn't have you any other way, because we love you.
This is why I had
Not at all.
stop drinking. It became a problem. I'd go on Twitter and just start raging, and people are like, "What's wrong with that dude?" I'm like, "I gotta quit drinking."
Seriously, Amanda, do not change because you take an awful lot of pressure off me.
Oh, okay. I'll try.
You're making Jen look good. Wow.
Yeah. You make me look innocent, Amanda. I mean, it's just fucking awesome.
Whoa. Nothing makes you look innocent, Jen. Not a thing. You know, I don't mind a little bit of exaggeration, but that's like Kent Hovind levels of exaggeration. You know, I have shared something. So
to be honest, I think it's more like Ray than Kent.
Oh, you got a banana? No, because you'll actually bring one out, and we don't want that on screen tonight. So I have just shared something there, Jen. If you want to bring that up.
Oh, sorry, I was not paying attention. There we go.
That's all right. We're used to it.
Fuck you.
There we go.
So I'll let you talk us through this one, Amanda.
Okay, so this guy, this Christian pastor went on and on about how, you know, the blood of Christ would keep them safe, and he kept, you know, having his sermons and stuff, and brought everybody to church. He ended up catching COVID and fucking dying from it in Virginia, in the South, where this shit is a problem. I'm telling you, like I told you guys, in my town. They were getting together, even though the churches were closing, it was their decision. They were getting together in the square to, you know, pray and shit, and end up spreading it more. And someone like this, and, you know, I'm not going to say he deserved it, because nobody deserves to go through this, but he did. It was okay for him to spread it to everyone in his church, and therefore everyone in his town, because he was under the impression, or at least said he was under the impression, that God was fucking keeping him from getting sick. So
the sad thing there is, I mean, there's a level of indoctrination, and you've got to feel sorry. But what pisses me off is this person went and basically would have been, to prove himself right, would have been touching as many people as he could, surrounding himself and having all these people come and do similar things. And how many people would have been infected?
Well, it's got a beta of 4.2 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it spreads through air transmission. Like, it's so contagious that this type of behavior is just ridiculous. And I understand that they're indoctrinated, but at a certain point in your life, you make enough decisions that accumulate into you being personally responsible for the path that you took. And what did sadden me, so when I was looking for tweets today, is like, this is not a unique case. Like, for every tweet that is like ridiculous and a little bit funny, I almost one for one found a tweet about a Christian who got it and died as a result of it, because it is just
likewise. I've found many pastors passing away. Yeah, I've found very similar.
And that's just pastors. They're not going to report on the people that go to churches that are being
Doorknob
affected.
had made a joke about how, you know, well, he got called home to Jesus, and that's what they're going to say, and yeah, absolutely, joke, but it's fucking true.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely, that's what it's saying.
I equate it to like
responsibility.
I equate it to like snake handling. You know, like a lot of snake handlers will defang their snakes, but those that don't, it's like you're playing with fire. You're gonna get bit. You're eventually gonna lose your life due to this. Stop being stupid. They're literally tracking this virus through churches to see how fast it spreads. Particularly churches, because churches aren't stopping their congregations, and it is spreading through churches right now.
But and here's the difference. I mean, and to throw some rough statistics out, I believe it was 1,400 people died yesterday in the United States. Okay, now the US has a population 10 times that of Australia. I accept that. So 1,400 yesterday in the US, where all the churches are open, and you've got some states that are just doing nothing. We've locked down here, so churches are all online. It's illegal to go to church at the moment because of this. It's legal to gather. We've had 40 deaths in total. Now, 40 deaths is still terrible, but 40 compared to 1,400 yesterday. And even if you take into account, the US has a population 10 times that of Australia. So if we had 140 deaths yesterday, we'd be on track with the US, but we've had 40 in total. Now that number may have changed, because I mean there's more and more. But what we've actually done is, I guess to an extent, there's still some idiots out there, but we're embracing the lockdown. We're doing the social distancing, and guess what? We're actually trending better than anywhere in the world because we're actually starting to flatten out already without hitting the peak. In fact, our peak is basically nothing, but then it's people are still going to church in the US. Like, they're gathering in these massive groups. Like, what the hell? Well, it's surely at some point that the federal government, and I know that Trump's kissing the ass of the evangelicals at the moment, but at some point they've just got to go, everything's closed. That's it. If you don't like it, bad luck. This is for your health.
Yeah, and our epicenters are on the coast right now. Like, it's only going to get worse in the United States as it hits Trump country, and all of these conspiracy theorists and the churches that are open, the mega churches, like is showing on the screen right now. It's just going to get worse and worse.
I live 40 minutes from the busiest airport in the world, so it's bad. And like I've said this before, I don't know if I said it today, but my fucking governor opened the beaches the other day in our state. They don't care. And I saw this tweet. I don't have it to show you, but somebody compared this to the Holocaust. They said, we didn't shut down our economy during the Holocaust. Why are we doing it now?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I wish I knew where it was, but yeah, that's totally fucked.
Well, I mean, this link here from the article from The Guardian, California megachurch linked to spread of more than 70 coronavirus cases. And now they're bitching that health officials are telling them they need to shut down. And it's a lie. It was not our fault. But hang on, they're your congregation members. The most likely thing is it came through your congregation.
You know what they need to do? What they need to do is say to some of these pastors, if people die, they can't tithe. They can't give you money if they're dead. And then watch how many churches close.
Yeah.
Or at least give them a fine, for a really hefty fine of like thousands of dollars for everybody that gets sick in their church.
Yeah, and you can still make your money from home. Like, people can pay on the internet. You can keep track of your tithing. I've been saying this, the NIFB is atrocious on a lot of things, but even they are telling their people to stay home. I mean, if one of the worst churches in America is telling their people to stay home, follow suit. Like, seriously.
That's saying something. That's right.
The figures there are interesting because the church has 3,500 members, with a total attendance at some services up to 10,000 people. But in that particular county, there has only been 350 cases. That's still a lot, but with 10 deaths. And 71 of those cases come from this one church. If they cut out services, those cases wouldn't be there. Those figures would be a shit ton better.
Not to mention that the people that then go and get infected by those 71 people.
Exactly.
After, when they go to get something to eat afterwards, when they go to the shops, when they go and drop their kids off at schools and things like that.
It's even just the coffee. If they have a cup of tea or a coffee after the service, or they peruse the mega church's bookshop, because they all seem to have those stupid things. These people are just passing it on to everyone else in the congregation. That's a lot of people who are going to get sick.
And the thing is, I mean, for those who don't know, I mean, our Prime Minister here, who I guess is the equivalent of the President, he is a fundamentalist Christian. He's, not as crazy as some of the ones you get in the US, but he's, and that's a bit of an odd thing for us here, because, it's a bit odd to have a very out Pentecostal Christian leader. But he came out and said, close the churches. Everyone followed suit. Everyone just went with it.
I think the difference is it's not necessarily a Christian thing in terms of it's just fundamental Christianity that causes this. As an outsider from America, and I will bow to any of the Americans here that want to correct this, but America has a very weird culture with the way they treat their constitutional and their rights as they appear in amendments. And so you see consistently the right to worship and the right to assembly being protected by their constitution, and anything that they can construe as a way to reduce that is an attack on their freedom, un-American, and they will push back and they will fight the government for it because we got rid of the British and we'll get rid of you. And that's what's causing this pushback in America, from what I can tell, in the same way that when you try to threaten to take away their guns, they will kick off with that as well, because it's a culturally American issue, not a cultural Christian thing.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartly. They're using their constitutional argument here, and it's really flimsy because they don't have the right to endanger the public health. So, I have seen that a lot. That's probably the most consistent thing I'm seeing coming from the Christians here in the States is we have a constitutional right to have our religion, and you do right at home.
But we also have a constitutional right to keep a separation between church and state, and they don't seem to give a fuck about that either.
Yeah, they give no fucks about that.
There is an issue that we have with our Constitution in America is that the way it was written and designed, it was supposed to be looked over every 10 or 20 years and re-examined. And they don't fucking do that. They haven't done that in a century, and we need to. We need to fix some of this shit because it is not working.
No document is written to stay forever.
And I'm not going to shit on the Second Amendment one way or the other. I'm not a fan of guns, but people have their rights to it. But when the Second Amendment was written, they were guns that shot one bullet and took 30 seconds to load. They did not imagine 1847s when they wrote that amendment.
Yeah, exactly. And
good point.
And the Supreme Court is what gave people an individual right. If you read the Second Amendment, it does not give you an individual right to own a gun. Now, I understand that here in the States, it's a huge argument, but constitutionally, it was the Supreme Court that gave people that right, not the actual Constitution.
Yeah, we have so many problems that need to be fixed. I know that only you and I here are Americans, so we won't get too much into it. I know Chris doesn't like politics on his channel, but it's just the way that everything is falling apart of our president. It's not fair.
Yeah, it seems that this president is really exasperating the problem.
He really is, and it has felt for 3 years now like we have no control, we have no say, we have no voice in this country anymore, and it breaks my fucking heart. It really does.
Especially 4 or 5 years ago, it was opposite.
What was that, Jen?
I still have a question for you. As a scientist, do you think I need to keep up? Do you think I need to keep up with you with drinking tonight? Because I've run out of.
I ran out of my drink, but I'm pretty fucking drunk right now. So.
No, well, I've only had two. I've only had 2 cans, so I'm happy.
It's the third time I've drank in almost a year, so I'm a super lightweight, but I'm cool.
Do you have any other booze?
Just the fucking wine I can't open.
Oh, why can't you open the wine?
Because I don't have a corkscrew. And I'm not going to hurt myself with the things that Sam sent me.
You have a screw and a screwdriver. That's a safe one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you could just be a real alcoholic and break the top off.
I it's not like I didn't think of that either. No, I'm good. I'm mellowing out. My anger has subsidid. So
I might save
cool.
the booze Chris. For Dave's stream, which actually is probably going to be starting soon.
No, he knows. I told him I didn't realize that it started at 7:30, and he's like, "We'll just fucking do it when you guys are done. It's fine."
Yeah.
So, and he's always late anyway. Is he around?
No, I think he's left to get his stream organized. So we've probably got a little bit of time.
I'm going to text him and see what he needs.
On that note, anyway, I'll probably duck out. It's been really good being on here tonight, so thanks for having me. And I'm on Modern Day Debates tomorrow. So
good luck with that.
Is this the one we've been speaking about?
Yeah, banned missionaries. Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
Yes, so it's on tomorrow.
If I can offer you some advice, make sure that you get the rules with whoever you're arguing with. Get the rules very, very clear before you go on and what the format is.
Okay, good. Okay, we've drawn that up, but yeah, I think we need a bit more detail with it. But I'll do that tomorrow.
Make sure, just speaking from experience on that one.
Hammer it home to James. James can be a little aloof when it comes to topics and particulars in the debates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good guy.
Okay.
Real good guy, James. But
well, he's a great guy. Great guy.
Yeah.
He's probably one of my favourite theists.
Well, Bear, I
agree.
I want to say that how much I love you and thank you so much for coming on. For real.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr.
No problem. Yeah.
Really nice to meet you. I've seen you on Twitter.
Good. Yeah, good to meet you too. Oh, good. Yeah, same. Yeah, I've seen you on the Twitterverse. So, take care, everybody, and have a good night.
My friend.
Really quickly, what else have you got? What else have you got coming up on your channel, mate?
Whatever takes my fancy, really. I go week by week, so whatever comes up, I'll respond to it. I try to. Night, Leah.
She knows you're chilling.
So nothing planned. Just the debate. I'm talking with Amanda this weekend, and in between, I'll probably knock something up. I'll see.
Awesome. Look forward to it, mate. Thank you for coming.
But at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, that he's doing the Mandalorian with me.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll be there.
Bye, Mr. Bear.
Cool. Okay. See you tonight. Bye.
Well, we probably will wrap up soon anyway because it's.
Well, Dave says he's busy with something, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, we've got at least half an hour or so, Chris. So, if Jay's available now, he could always hop in for the end of the show.
Yeah, why the fuck are you in the chat, but you wouldn't come on the stream? That's kind of.
No, he didn't finish work till late, Amanda. That was why, and he's really tired. So yeah.
I know, but still, if he's fucking with me, he should do it face to face.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Man, you're inviting this in. I just want to point out, you're inviting this in.
I mean, you've got this reputation for sucking cocks, so, I mean, that's probably not the best phrase you want to use.
It's not. I have a reputation for telling people to suck my cock. There's the difference.
Yeah, there's a semantic difference.
She's a selfish lover.
Yeah. She only likes receiving, she won't give.
I don't think Jay's there. Jen, do you want to send Scummer the link?
I can send Scummer the link.
Yeah, we'll go for about another half hour and then we'll probably wrap it up after that because daylight savings is over and I'm getting used to this time. It's a bit late for me and it's probably a bit late for Sam there. I can see Sam's looking a bit tired.
Really? No, that's just me not shaving in like weeks.
I like the beard.
I'm happy. I'm starting to get a bit of growth comeback after my bad haircut. So
I've not had a beard in a long time, but it's lucky it's not HD.
You don't want to fuck up your head like what Chris did.
Oh no, I'll grow this shit out until the self-isolation's over and I can go to the hair shop, the barber. I will not cut it myself.
I miss my barber. Man, I miss my barber.
Well, we have a link to one of our favourite Pommy people sent.
Excellent. Amanda, you've got a heap coming up. So tell us what's going on this weekend because there's something really cool happening this weekend.
Bear and I are talking about the Mandalorian.
Oh, for goodness sake, Amanda!
Amanda?
I'm not chilling the shit. Yes, I'm going on R and Raws at 7 Eastern time on Sunday.
And this is how much I love Amanda. You know why it's at 7 Eastern? So us Aussies can watch.
What time is it our time, Chris? I assume you've done their maths.
I have done the maths. It's about 9 a.m.
Nice.
On Monday.
That's all right. It's a public holiday. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know you guys. I didn't realize. I forgot that it was a Monday.
It's a public holiday. It's all good. It's perfect.
Yeah, because public holidays, is that even a thing that matters anymore?
4-day weekend. It does to me because I've still got to fucking work.
Yeah. No, I did. I made sure it was late enough that you guys could come because you're my family. So.
And what obviously you're going to be going into climate change. Is there anything in particular on climate change you're going to be covering or you're looking to cover?
I mean, we're going to talk about the fact that some people think it's a hoax, and then we're also going to talk about some of the rollbacks in the environmental policies that Trump has done in our country and how it has affected. It's like a domino effect toward the world. So
what would you say, I guess, to people who do say, with all genuine intentions, that they're not sure and the science isn't settled? What do you say to those people?
I mean, if they're actually asking and not just like, fuck you, I know what you're, I have a lot of people that are just really stuck with it's a hoax and I don't believe anything you say, no matter, how much education I have or whatever. But if people honestly ask because they don't know, I go toward, the amount of carbon in the atmosphere, the way the permafrost is melting, how quickly the permafrost is melting, the desalination of the oceans, the fact that there are horrible droughts in parts of the world, especially the southern hemisphere. There are a few things that I will specifically address and show them, bit by bit, that this is proof as to what's happening.
So with climate change, and I guess I'll throw this at you, and this isn't me, don't get me wrong on this. Obviously, there is historical climate change as well. And I guess me as a historian, I've sort of seen that. How would you compare the different climate cycles to what's happening now? Where's the difference there? Because obviously there's a history of heating and cooling on the planet.
Yeah, there is. I mean, in the past about 650 years or 650,000 years, there's been, I think, 7 or so climate cycles. It goes between like glacial and interglacial periods. But this has to do with how quickly the temperature is rising and how much carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere, how much all of it is in the atmosphere. But specifically, there are about 400 parts per million amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is way more than we have ever had, other than when like the volcanoes fucked up the planet. And there's no reason for that. It's not irradiation from the sun. It has nothing to do with anything that's coming up from the ground. It has to do with what we are putting into the atmosphere.
The spike we have now.
It's a faster rise.
Yeah.
Yes. Since 1950, about the last 70 years, it has risen over 400. The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has risen over 400%, and that is a huge fucking amount in a tiny amount of time.
That's the J curve that everyone talks about with climate change.
Hang on. I think Nox tried to jump in there.
Well, I was just gonna if they're familiar with the science of natural climate change, then they should be familiar that we're like 100,000 years ahead of that point of time. So I mean, it's like it's really undeniable that man is causing what we're seeing in the environment right now.
Well, technically, we should be in a mini ice age at the moment. We're at the end of the last mini ice age, so we should be at lower temperatures, not higher ones.
Yeah, exactly.
But the J curve on temperature is a real thing. It's huge, and the fact that people can actually deny that when you can actually see it so clearly on a graph is like, come on, guys, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
It is very clear.
Well, actually, I've just had a really good question in the chat for you, Amanda. Do you think that the isolating will make any significant difference to the environment at all?
No, it's not going to last long enough. We still have so much that's going on and happening anyway. And when we go back to normal, there's going to be a lot of making up to do anyway. So there's going to be extra carbon dioxide pumped into the atmosphere with all the making up for what we've lost. So no, it's not enough. It's not enough time.
And
it's not enough done.
On that point, Trump here in the States, at least, is using this crisis to strip all regulations away from companies. They do not have to do anything environmentally anymore. I think a lot of companies are still choosing to, but I mean, they're taking this crisis to really strip away a lot of those regulations.
Yeah, the whole protectionist sort of economic policies have allowed that to happen. There's some weird things going on with you guys.
He's rolling back emissions policies because he's saying for cars, because he's saying that cars that use more fossil fuels will be cheaper and it'll help the fucking economy. That's his reason.
would you
very easy for an 80-year-old man to say, isn't it?
Would you agree, Amanda, that the biggest problem, more so than the emissions we're putting out, is the political will itself?
Yeah, I mean, especially with a country as big as we have, if America was on board and did shit and cared, we could get ahead of this. It is not, at this moment, it is not too late. There is damage done, but we can stop it and we can even reverse some of it. But with like you said, the political climate in this country, with our own fucking president saying that climate change is a hoax, we end up disappointing the entire world, and it is fucking frustrating. It really is.
Although I will say this, as frustrating as Trump is, he's better than the vice president. You don't want Pence. But
I agree.
Hello to Jeff. Scummer, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, no, you're not too bad.
Sorry, mate. You've been
No. Honestly, let Amanda talk on that, because it's interesting and it's important. Because I thought, I'm doing okay, guys. I was going to ask you a question, because it just came up in another stream the other day, Amanda. What's your opinion on like nuclear power? I've heard very different. I've heard very different things on this from different people. I just want to get your take on that, because I'm not sure where I fall on it.
Nuclear power is very safe and very clean. And I mean, other than having to deal with the nuclear waste, which I think we will be able to figure out eventually, and the amount of fossil fuels used to build a nuclear plant, it is very clean and very safe if done right. It's almost 20% of our energy in this country uses nuclear power. In Europe, you guys have an issue because you were afraid after what happened with Chernobyl. So a lot of your nuclear power plants shut down. You don't use it as much. But it is very clean and very safe.
You say that, Amanda, but sorry, America had the whole thing with breeder reactors that they were starting to develop, and then what happened with Long Island was closed down the entire project. And a breeder reactor is 3 Mile Island, sorry. That is probably one of the worst things that could have happened for the nuclear industry. I mean, breeder reactors provide us with a way to reduce the amount of nuclear waste that comes out of reactors and makes them even safer than the ones that are currently in use. The technology is there. We're just not using it because of that fear-mongering.
Yeah, because people are so scared, and they don't need to be, especially with the technology that we have in America, which we could share. And I actually learned the other... I'm sorry, Chris, at any point you want me to shut the fuck up?
No, please don't. I'm loving this discussion.
In fact, Jen, do me a favour. Can you mute everyone?
No, don't do that.
No, I won't. I won't.
There is a nuclear power plant in South America, in I think near Johannesburg, because I have a friend there that is a mirror image of Chernobyl. They just copied what they did.
Yeah.
And luckily they fixed some of the stuff, but it's safer. But that worries me because we don't need this again. We don't need, and actually this happened in Russia last year, and they hid it. They had another meltdown in Russia, and they tried to hide it, but there was air that was bringing the waste throughout all of Europe, so everybody knew. And this shit happens when it's not done properly. But we have the technology to do it right so that shit doesn't happen. It is safe here. It is a safe way of getting cleaner energy, way better than fucking fossil fuels. So yes, I think that nuclear energy is great. I really do.
So a very important question I do have that I need to throw. Jeff, what are you drinking?
I've got Heineken today. Yes, they actually had something better than Foster's in the shop. So
because you were drinking Foster's last week.
I know. Things were tough last week. All right, things were tough.
That's disgusting. Sorry, I interrupted there. Sorry,
I'd like to add to what Amanda said with waiting for the promise of nuclear fusion is ridiculous. Because nuclear fusion has always been this technology that's 10 years in the future. It's 10 years in... It is quite probably going to still be 10 years in the future in 30 years' time. We have not nutted it out. We have not figured out how to make it positive in its gain, so you get out more energy than you put in to make it happen. There are types of reactors that you could do that with, but none of them are practical for power generation. Fission, on the other hand, we know all about it. We can do it right, we can do it safely, and we can produce a lot more energy from that than we ever can from renewables, at the moment anyway. Because our technologies for renewables are limited, but our knowledge about fission is immense now. So we could solve most of our energy problems with fission.
What about geothermal?
I actually, I used to, when I first started out in this industry, I used to design solar panel systems. I also did a couple geothermal systems. It depends on where you are and what you need it for. There's only a certain amount of energy you can really get out of it. You can't. It's not to scale. You can't get. It's not like you can have wind farm levels of energy that you get from it. Geothermal works on a small scale right now. What we have, but what you said, Jen, yes, partly, but though because we don't have the infrastructure too.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. Yes, I 100% agree with you. That's the infrastructure as well. But it is true that fission is a long way off. Regardless of what anyone tells you about their new things, fission is 30 years off. Proper fission reactors, even if they nut it out in the next 10 years, we will not have reactors in place for 30 years. So we need solutions now. And did I just say fission instead of fusion? I did, didn't I? Fusion is not. Hey, I did.
But we know what you're talking about.
Yeah, fusion is. I've had too much to drink. Fusion is not going to be our solution anytime soon.
You were talking about. The rest of us have no idea.
Yeah, Amanda knew what I meant. Fusion is not going to be our. Yeah, fusion is not going to be our solution anytime soon. Fission is a good solution, and with all due respect, Gary in the chat, renewables will get us some of the way there. Renewables cannot get us all the way there. Our energy requirements at the moment are way too high for us to meet them with renewable resources.
I just give my take on that because I've got to admit I am very ignorant to a lot of the sciences. I think eventually the long-term goal would be renewables. I think that was the long-term goal, but I think in the short-term goal, it's probably not going to be enough. I mean, that's just my kind of take on it. But that's what I said. I'm not very up on the science on this at all.
We're not going to get.
It's a long-term thing to strive towards, perhaps. But
yeah, please correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda. But renewables won't get us there if we just rely on what we can get from whilst we're on the planet. There's a lot of energy that comes to each square meter of the Earth from the sun. But actually getting access to it is really, really difficult with the technologies we have at the moment. On the other side of that, if we were to build solar arrays in space and beam the energy back to us, we could achieve it all with renewables. And technically we have the technology to do that now, but we do not have the political will.
Yeah, it's because of money. It really is. It's the same thing with the infrastructure. It's about the money.
I been quiet for a little while. Yes, it's about the money, but the money is a symptom, and the issue is that the cost to move away from fossil fuels, it causes what in behavioral economics is thought of as focused pain, but moving away from fossil fuels is a diffuse benefit. So the benefit goes to everyone, but the pain goes to a few people. But the pain is significant enough that those people mobilize and those people take action to prevent change that causes them harm, despite the fact that the overall benefit is a positive. So
those people are also being funded and lobbied to by the fossil fuel industry.
I'm including them as those people. So these are part of the people that are harmed, and that's to them it's financial harm. To people that are working in the coal mines, it's just everyday harm. I can't pay my mortgage. Like it goes from billionaires down to people that are subsistence living on a industry that, by all rights, should be on its way out at the moment, and it's not because we can't get past this in terms of policy of addressing the fact that we need to cause harm to a smaller group of people for the greater good of the wider community, because the people that get the benefit are not motivated enough because they get a small benefit from their perceptions. Obviously, that's not the actual case because we're talking about the planet, but their benefit over the short term is small, so they do not, by and large, care enough about this issue to push it and make sure that governments change. Governments are influenced by the people. They're voted in most places. Well, in the West, let's talk about Australia and America, and it's about the people starting to understand the real cost of climate change not being addressed and not going to other sources like.
If you have a look at the two biggest polluters, though, I mean, we're talking China and India. I think the US comes in third. So China and India. Now, these are countries, India in particular, that is coming out of poverty. I understand a lot of these things, but I guess I look at it this way. If I was living in India, I would struggle to accept that my children would have to live without, my like now and the next generation would have to live without electricity, while we in the West live very comfortable lives.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, the only option they do have at the moment is coal. And I think that we do need political will, but we also need political and economic global realities where we've got to look at these rising nations like India and China and say, well, what options have we got? How can we help them? I think if we've got coal
exactly
in Australia, it makes bugger all difference, because I mean we're like 0.1% of the global pollution. But we need to get into places like India and say, let's find a solution for India. Let's find a solution for China.
I can't speak to India, but China's got a solar city. Like, China are making steps to move into.
China has a solar city a solar system that looks like a panda. By the way, it's cool as fuck. Look it up. China is actually making huge strides towards fixing this. While they're still very polluted, they have places that it's hard to breathe and stuff. They are actually compared to the rest of the world, especially us, they're making huge fucking strides. They do this stuff where they have the cars are registered to only drive, like you could drive Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or something like that, to try to cut down on pollution. They're actually making strides, and they give a fuck. And I think that places like India, it would be helpful if places like America took the reins and said, look, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to fix it, and make it easier and cheaper. We can. Yeah. If we go through and work on the technology, and we can share that with the rest of the world, it would be better, and it would help places like India. But we're not doing that. And
we can make the technology, we can sell it to them for a price that's cheaper than coal, and then we can actually make our economy stronger by actually investing in renewables.
In all honesty, we have to move away from this parochial governmental system.
Just talk over people.
Usually I do, but I'm fascinated listening.
I'm sorry.
This is one of the challenges of international audiences. We do get a delay, so what will happen is you'll start talking, but someone else won't have realised you're talking, and then it kind of so just keep talking, and it kind of works itself out.
Yeah, we usually figure it out.
Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, to Chris's point, if you look at what Osama bin Laden was able to do and how he was able to turn so many countries against us, was that narrative. Like, look at the fat Americans, look at the heathens. They have their air conditioning, they have their plumbing systems. We're sitting here living in our own shit. So yeah, I think America does need to take a more active leadership role instead of being decisive and split on the issue.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a political issue, and that's always the thing that's baffled me, how it's become a political issue. I remember, and for those who don't know, I've got a political background.
Have you, Chris? I would never have known.
No, it's shocking, isn't it? But with the Australian version of a Conservative Party, and as I've said a million times, the Australian Conservative movement passed gun bans, abortion laws. So we're very different to what you've got in the US. So don't think I'm like a Trump fanatic or anything like that.
No. Everybody knows how left-wing I am, and you're like my best friend, so clearly you're not super...
I think right-wing is totally different outside of America. They're different here.
Yeah. I mean, the Conservative Party is called the Liberal Party, so that gives you a bit of an idea.
Yeah, I mean, both major political parties in Australia are centrist.
It's a bit like
there is still the issue with this perception that climate change is a political issue. And I remember that I got interviewed for when I ran, and I'm in a very safe left wing seat. I was never ever going to win, but they hit me on the climate change question, and I said, absolutely, climate change is an issue. It is man-made, and we need to be doing more. We need to invest more money, and we need to look at renewables. We need to look at a lot of things. And the journalist actually kind of went, because they thought that I was about to do the whole, climate change, it's the whole standard right-wing, far-right conservative line. But most people who I know who think the same as me politically, including people who are very much within the party, absolutely agree that climate change is a thing. It needs to be addressed. So I don't understand why there's such a political divide or why it's seen as a political issue. At the end of the day, it should be a bipartisan issue because
I agree.
We've got a plan and we need to look after this planet. And at the end of the day, if we need to make a couple of sacrifices here in the very wealthy Western world, well, that's what we need to do. And it's a simple. Now, no, we don't need to use electricity, but we need to start thinking, how can we help these nations like somewhere like India that, let's face it, was oppressed because of and hasn't been able to rise, even though they were a very rich nation because of, I guess, Western imperialism and colonialism. Well, now it's time for us all to step up and say, right, let's help these nations get to where they need to be, because we kind of owe them regardless, but we need to do it for the planet.
Yeah,
I agree.
So there you go, right-wing politician just said
I was gonna throw a couple of things actually, but first of all, this is one of the things I say. Australia, I always kind of laughed at like party named the Liberal Party is like more conservative one, but kind of reminds me, is it? I think it's Jamaica where you've got the National Party is like the left-wing party, and the Labour Party is the quite right-wing in there, but I was going to say something. I think maybe you guys think I'm pissing into the wind a bit with this, but
I love that phrase.
But it goes back to something that Autobot and I were kind of had a little thing in the chat just before we got in here, and I don't want to get like too political or anything on your stream, Chris, but we were kind of talking about how, because he was sort of saying about like with the crisis around like Second World War, and maybe even to a lesser extent what's going on now, where you had governments sort of taking control of big sections of the economy or whatever. I mean, he argued that was sort of like a socialist thing. Personally, I would have argued it to be more of a form of Keynesian economics, personally. But that's just my take on it. But people often said, like, I've often heard people say, why can't we have something like that around that to tackle climate change, which obviously I think would be good. But I think one of the flaws with it is that if you looked about a lot of it around the Second World War and then going on to the Cold War, because certainly in Britain from about the period 2 or 3 years after the war, when we got back on our feet, there was full employment in Britain. But a lot of that was based around the Cold War, and the fact that quite a lot of the national expenditure and government expenditure was put into that arms race. And I get the idea about saying do something about that, like that around climate change, but I think the difference between climate change and an arms race is an arms race compels people to spend more money. That if like let's say Australia and if New Zealand is building like armaments to invade Australia has to spend equal to that. I mean, maybe you just think I'm pissed into the wind with what I'm saying there. But
no, you're right. Your timeline's slightly out. It was because the end of the war in the UK was my favourite British Prime Minister of all time, Clement Atlee, and I say that because so do I, because I'm well, Atlee's my surname, so Prime Minister C. Atlee's kind of got a bit of a ring to it for me. But it was more when Churchill got back in the arms race and the whole Iron Curtain started happening. So I think it was 49 when the Soviet Union detonated their A-bomb, and that's what really sort of kicked it off, because all of a sudden I guess the Allies or the US in particular had a lot of the power. And look, there's argument that the reason they dropped the bomb on Japan was to sort of, as a bit of a showing the Soviet Union, just don't push it too far. So it was more sort of the 50s. The UK economy actually, it did go well under Labor, and it was sort of fairly, a lot of things got socialised. Medicare and universal healthcare was brought in at that point. But a lot of it was rebuilding after the war. And I think, and look, I'm as conservative as I am, I think there's times like these crises and like the crisis we've got now and end of wars and certain things where you do need to, I guess, nationalise and socialise to an extent. But I think it's I always think it's a band-aid solution. It's a temporary thing, never good as a permanent solution.
I'd even say, even though I'm politically, you and I are very different, Chris. Even though I like you, even though we are politically very different.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with you with that. Because I think there was a theory written on the sort of post-war boom years from, say, the 50s. Well, I'm saying roughly from the 50s through to the early to mid 70s in Britain, when it started to come apart. That it was theorised as a permanent arms economy, based on what I was kind of just saying about that Cold War arms race and the spend. But it did prove to be only a temporary solution to like two things, like the general tendency of the rate of profit to fall and stuff like that. And the normal kind of crisis system it can fall into. It is a temporary solution, but I think often what when I say to people about why can't we have something like that on climate change, or something to put that kind of resource in, which I think would be good. The problem is where I found what compelled people to spend was the threat of war, and that kind of competition, that threat there compelled people to spend that kind of money into that resources. It's just, I mean, you might think I'm spitballing shit out here, but
I would disagree on the basis that the problem with climate change, and the reason that it's not being addressed at the moment, is because resources are too cheap. So coal is undervalued in terms of how rare it actually is and how valuable it actually is to keep it in the earth. And the fact that people can get it so cheaply is the reason we're struggling to combat climate change. And renewables are too expensive because we don't spend enough money actually investing on it. The private market's unable to address that balance, and that's where government needs to step in and create things like legislative tools to create balance that will actually enforce climate change action. Because that's the only way it's going to happen. Because we leave it to the current status quo, not going to happen.
Even so, Sam, we cannot fulfill our energy requirements with renewables alone.
Sorry. I'm not using renewables in terms of just new technology and stuff. Like, yes, I recognize that there's current technology that needs to fill the gap, but that needs to fill the gap. That doesn't need to replace research into renewables. We lost a shit ton of scientists in Australia. We should have been on the forefront of renewable technology and creating that and selling that to the world, because we used to be a lot more innovative and we used to do a lot more inventing in Australia than we do now, because we lost that infrastructure because it wasn't valued by the government.
No, I agree with you 100% there.
Yep.
Yeah, going back
That's
to
all I'm going to say, because I know Chris doesn't like getting into this stuff too much.
Sorry.
Yeah, like going back to the whole nuclear energy thing, just to kind of like a point on it. When I was a climate change activist on the front lines, protesting pipelines and doing all of that stuff, the majority of us we hated nuclear energy. And I had this bias. I just didn't know the truth about it. I actually had a nuclear scientist come on my stream, educate me about nuclear energy, and then I had to go and research and find out all of the bullshit that I had in my mind that was just wrong. So I think a lot of it too is just education, like trying to beat that narrative for truth, and it's really hard to do that because that narrative is everywhere, and people kind of lump into their groups and they believe what people believe around them. So I think it's a lot of it.
A lot of the problem with nuclear is because of all the fear-mongering that was done during the Cold War. Because we were pushed on this thing of fearing the bomb, fearing what would happen, just to keep the status quo of the Cold War going. That people have it in their minds that everything nuclear is scary and terrifying and it's going to kill us all. And because of that, people have a reluctance to accept nuclear power. Even though at the moment it is the most mature of the technology we can put in place to help solve the problem.
Well, this is kind of why, like earlier, I want to ask Amanda about her opinion on that, because I think, from a little while ago, I had, I would say, probably an ideological aversion to nuclear, because similar to what you were just saying there, Jed. I mean, like, for example, I remember, I don't know even how or why I was even allowed to watch this, because I was a kid at the time. In the mid 1980s, the BBC did a movie called Freds that was put out, which depicted a nuclear war. Now, I don't think that for Americans, if they've ever seen the movie the TV movie the day after, that was almost as if Britain looked to that movie and said, "Hold my beer." You know, it was a really scary and, I mean, fairly accurate to a degree, but really scary, thing about nuclear. And then but it puts that whole thing, you've got that national real aversion to anything when you hear the word nuclear or atomic. That can really...
Well, yeah, and there is that perception that everyone thinks that you mention nuclear and you're going to end up in a radioactive wasteland. That people just, had bomb with energy. But I mean, it's like, there was a hydrogen bomb. I mean, we're not afraid of hydrogen, are we?
No, I mean, we still see nuclear meltdowns in the news, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think the nuclear bomb is our biggest bomb anymore. We've got so much more deadlier stuff now.
No, definitely the biggest bomb we can make is a nuclear one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like, don't we have this one bomb that will explode 6 feet off the ground and cut everything in half? I mean, just our technology is just crazy. But yeah, I'm not sure when it comes to weapons. I usually don't research weapons too much.
From the point of energy release to the amount of mass within the bomb itself, nothing beats nuclear. Unless, of course, you're going to go with an antimatter weapon, which, of course, we're not capable of making at the moment. There is nothing that beats nuclear.
So is the hydrogen bomb, is that a nuclear bomb or,
yes, it is.
Or not?
Yeah, there is a fully operational Death Star, as Chris pointed out. But
yeah, a Death Star would definitely beat a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, a little bit. No, it's just misinformation. If people knew, it would be better. But right now,
the biggest problem you've got with renewables is there's only so much energy that comes from the sun that lands on our planet. And yes, it's a decent amount of energy per square meter, but the technologies we have and any foreseeable technologies we have, with at least within the next couple of 100 years, are not going to give us the ratio of energy from the area of land that we use to gather that energy. Whilst we could fulfill a lot of our energy needs with renewables, we are not going to fulfill all of them because of the amount of energy requirements, especially in the first world, that we have. This is why we're still using coals and not moving to renewables.
That's kind of right now, though. There are so many things we could do to cut down on the energy.
Oh, no, I totally agree, Amanda. But this is a political will thing as well.
We need to wrap it up. So I'm sorry.
One thing I do want to start is I do want to I mention. I think we're all aware of the anti-theist convention and some of the issues surrounding that, and how they said anyone can be nominated. Yep. So what I actually want to do is, now that George Pell has not been convicted, that means that he's okay for the anti-theist conference. So I think it's time to nominate him, because I think he's doing more for the cause of atheism at the moment than anyone.
Yeah,
so I think we need to get that campaign going. So so if everyone wants to go and nominate George Pell at the because as they've said at the anti-theist conference, they don't control who comes in. They can't control it as long as they haven't been convicted. So
I will say there's something going on. There's something going on with that, but I'm not at liberty to talk about that on camera. So maybe offline. So.
Can I just say thank you to Chris for letting me fucking ramble like that? I'm sorry.
I love it when you ramble. We have a good range.
It was very informative. Before we get out of here, I just want to say, breaking right now, New York Times is reporting Trump has financial interest in hydroxychloroquine. So imagine that.
Go fucking figure.
I take some of that with a grain of salt, but.
Sometimes it turns out to be fake, but if it's true, it makes all the sense in the world.
Problem in the US.
Yeah, it is the New York Times, and they do have a vested interest in making the president look bad. So,
and that's the problem. See, I wish they wouldn't do that, because I mean, Trump fucks up plenty on his own.
You don't have to do it.
Yeah, but they just push it. So when something true comes out, it's just like, yeah, well, I don't know if it's true. It kills the whole thing. It's the reason he'll probably win again. One of the reasons he'll probably win again.
The reason he'll win again is because of the media.
You just made the stream go 2 hours longer because I'm going to talk Joe Biden. No, I won't. I promise.
We are going to have to.
Actually, Nuka, can I just say something about that? I put a comment Ali addressed in your chat when you had Amanda on the other day. I just want to clear that to Ali that wasn't meant at you guys when I said about what was going on with Biden that wasn't getting discussed. I think she thought that was meant at you guys. It wasn't, about Biden's, shall we say, some of the allegations around him.
Oh yeah. I don't think I probably missed it. To be honest, she doesn't.
Yeah, I thought she maybe had got the impression that I was saying that you guys were deliberately not talking about it. That wasn't what I meant. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Oh yeah, and I'll make sure she knows. And I have actually plans on looking into it myself. I always need video ideas.
Yeah.
We're always looking for it. Well, what we might do is we might wrap up. So I want to do a bit of a run around so everyone can sort of let us know what's coming up. So Nokasuchi, I want to go to you first, mate, because I guess you're the first time guest here. So what's coming up on the channel?
So not much this week. I'm going to be doing some edited content. My co-host Atlee is getting worse with her COVID, so she's going to be out probably for a good week at least. Hopefully she'll recover. This Sunday we do have Faye the Most Gracious and John Peterson coming back for episode 2 of Apostate Alliance. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Excellent.
Faye's awesome, by the way, people. If anyone hasn't seen her, Faye's awesome.
Oh yeah, she is really, really awesome, and what the work she's doing is just phenomenal. She needs to keep it up.
Absolutely. And when was that on? When's that on?
That'll be next Sunday. So I'm not sure the time yet, but it'll be at some point next Sunday.
Too easy. And anyone who's obviously the links in the description here, I'm sure someone will put the link in the chat as well. Definitely go if you haven't. And look, I mean, I'm a very small channel compared to yours. But anyone who's here who hasn't subscribed, I mean, just go and subscribe. So it's actually a really cool channel. So I would highly recommend it. Definitely head over there and have a look. Sam, what are you rapping this week, man?
So at the moment, I'm twitching.
I love it.
So there was a video I want to do on some stuff that basically some games I used to play as a kid. One of those games just happens to be Final Fantasy VII, which the remake technically launches in a couple of days, but I got my hands on it a week early. I streamed it. I got a copyright strike. Yes. But I still got a bunch of followers out of it. So I'm planning on streaming it on the 10th of April at midnight when it formally does release, and I should not get another copyright strike. But I'll also...
I wanted to ask you that. Do you think you got that copyright strike because it hasn't been released yet? Because I do gaming videos on my other channel, and that kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, do not post any Final Fantasy stuff on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, anywhere. My strike actually came from a solicitor in Sydney. The contact email was there and stuff. I suspect, ironically, that after I found out that because they put out please don't spoil it, be nice everyone, and then they started sending out copyright strikes to people and DMCA takedowns, and after they started
this is a 20-year-old game.
Yeah, the remake is not a 20-year-old game though.
Okay, fair enough.
I've been playing it for 25 hours, and this section of the game would take about 5 to 8 hours in the original. But after they started doing DMCA takedowns, they made an amendment to that outline saying, please don't spoil it, and you may not use the works on online platforms until 10th of April. So, to be fair, that happened before I started streaming it, but I didn't think to check their streaming guidelines before I started streaming, so whoops. But I think they found me because I was streaming Animal Crossing, but I had Final Fantasy VII in my title saying, hey, I'll be streaming this from the 10th of April, and I think I came up in a search, and that's when they found me, because I got my strike while I was playing Animal Crossing. So that's what I'm doing this week. I'm justifying it not being on YouTube because I'm trying not to mix gaming and my other stuff, and I'm recording footage that I will be using for a video in the future on my YouTube channel. So you can find me at Vagrant Sam on YouTube, Vagrant_Sam on Twitch. So it's twitch.tv/Vagrant_Sam, and Vagrant Sam on Twitter as well. So
I will ask you one important question. Is it worth buying a PS4 just for that game?
The game is fucking amazing. Like it is, it is every fucking thing that I wanted out of the remake of the game, with the one exception of the fact that it is just the first disc in terms of what's represented. And we're going to have to wait for future games. So, who knows? Maybe they mess up the next game. But this, for what it is, just looking at the Midgar section of the plot is like I struggle to put it down, and I struggle to not play it today. I've got tomorrow off work, so I'm going to play all the side quests. I'm going to get all that stuff done so that I'm ready when I go live on Twitch again. I believe I'm up to the final stretch of the game, and I can go through and finish it live in front of an audience and hopefully get monetized by then, because that will be when I reach affiliate status in Twitch, which is exciting.
Sweet. Well done.
Because I illegally streamed a game that got me a DMCA strike, but it was worth it.
So it's a trick there. What do you got coming up, Jeff? I mean, it's.
Right, okay.
I've got to say, like, anyone who isn't subbed to Jeff, it's seriously, you do have some cool stuff that comes out, and you are grossly undersubbed. I really enjoy your stuff.
Okay, well, I haven't got a date for anything to release yet, but there's something I just I was hoping to release either yesterday or today, but I found that it was going to be a bit of a deeper dive than I was planning, so it might be this week, might be next week. I'm looking into Scientology's Narconon program and some of the claims about that. As with anything with Scientology, there always seems to be another little thing to dive into when it comes to them. But especially with recently, Whoopi Goldberg telling people with drug addictions to get in contact with Narconon. I thought, well, okay, that needs to be.
Is she a Scientologist?
I don't think she is, but I'm trying to be generous to her and say that maybe she is blissfully unaware of how dangerous Narconon is, and that or that it's a front for Scientology, but it is just my surface scratching into Narconon. It is just a dangerous quackery, and it's also just used to try and bring people into Scientology, which and hey, that's another rabbit hole in itself. Other thing, again, I can't give a date on this, but I'm hoping to do something with Hissy at some point. We've talked about it anyway, but she's busy with a dissertation at the moment, so but obviously she's got an interest in classical history, so we're gonna look at we're hopefully gonna do something on YouTube where we look on something that covers classical history, and I'm gonna show it up on screen here, classical Roman history here.
It's true Gaulish history.
Yeah,
history of the Olympics.
We're hoping to do something like just a bit of I've got to have a look at a couple of Asterix books, so we're hopefully at some point we're going to do something around that. It's just she's busy at the moment, and I don't want to bother her too much of it. But those are.
I think she's good.
Those are in the pipeline, shall we say?
Requesting the 12 tasks of Asterix and Obelix.
Yeah, that's the movie. Yeah, that's brilliant.
It's a book too. Pretty sure there was a book too.
It was a book, but it was that was actually a movie before it was a book. It's an exception in the Asterix series.
It was a good movie too.
Yeah, it was a brilliant movie.
It was.
Jen, what have you got coming up? And incidentally, for those who don't know, Jen's producing the show tonight, and Jen and Jay have both been producing for me lately, and thank you so much.
You're so welcome,
because I'm a complete I'm hopeless when it comes to this stuff. It's digital media, digital marketing, great history, all over it.
I know.
I jumped on ABS yesterday, and I wanted to cry afterwards because I realised how I am. But Jen, what do you got coming up on your channel?
Okay,
you've got stuff happening.
Yeah. I've got a video coming out later this week that's about a woman who's into a really, really stupid healing technique that is kind of deadly. I've also got a show coming up next week with Shannon Q and Donna about depression and anxiety, especially with COVID going around. Jay's lovely wife Raven will be a guest on that as well, and I don't know who else. I don't know. I haven't figured out if there'll be anybody else or what else, but those people are definitely on it. There's I'll be coming up. I'll be on Badger's show at some point this week, but we still haven't actually organised the day and the time because it is awkward with him being in Scummer's Land and timing is a bit of a pain.
The mother country, please, Jen. Come on.
Scummerland.
Mother country, England's home,
England.
boy.
Actually, it is the mother country for me as well because I'm half Pom. So aside from that, of course, the usual things like Friday Night Six Pack on Friday. I'll be on most of Dave's quizzes during the week, apart from the ones that are early in the morning for me because I am not getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be on a stream. Unless it's a stream that I've planned myself or I've planned with Amanda. I am not getting up for anyone else anymore. It's too tiring. It ruins me.
I'm not going to say anything because people get up at that hour for me on a regular, semi-regular basis, so I'm just going to be quiet there.
So, do you say who's on Critical Bitches this weekend?
I don't think we haven't got a proper Critical Bitches this weekend.
Yes, we do.
Do we?
We have Jay.
No,
yes.
We already put Jay off.
What? But why? Okay, fine. Never mind.
That was me. That was me because I've got too much on this weekend.
You didn't tell me that.
I did actually. So. But I'm sorry, Amanda. But what we did have planned was Ray Comfort on your channel.
Yeah, we're going after Ray Comfort on my channel.
And
so
that will be
special Critical Bitches. When is it?
We haven't organised.
Whenever we can figure it out, we'll let you fucking know.
Yeah, and Chris will be on that panel as well because there's no way Chris.
I'm not missing Ray Comfort.
Yeah,
no, I'm not missing Ray.
He's not missing Ray.
I'm not missing Ray. Now, Amanda, you got a bit coming up, and we did cover a bit, but shill away.
I know shill. You know that.
Amanda's got heaps coming up. Go subscribe to her. She's going to be on R&Ra on Sunday. She's always on Six Pack, so just subscribe to her. She puts out good stuff. She knows her climate science because she spoke to a climate scientist once, I think. So
I do have. I am working on a new climate science video. I will say that. So
sweet ass. And look, I'm sure most people here know me, but if you've come along for the first time today, I'm Chris. I'm the Atheist Pastor. This is Six Pack. We do it twice a week. We do it on a Friday night. We do a midweek one, which is generally a Tuesday, which is what it is now. So please come along, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow along. It's very much a community-based thing. We sometimes will talk serious stuff like we did tonight. Sometimes we'll just sit around and get pissed. And
I think we did that tonight as well. So
yeah, we got pissed and then we talked.
I think we managed to do both. Actually, it's like the perfect Six Pack. We get drunk and talk serious shit.
Yeah.
So it's great. Look out. But look, Friday night, so same time, so it's 9:30 Australian Eastern Time, which is 7:30 Eastern Standard Time in the US. We've just had Daylight Savings end here, so I think it's made it a bit better for everyone in the US and Europe especially. So look, come along, enjoy the show. I don't think there's much else. We've got the roast of canned ham in 3 weeks.
Go to Dave's after this too.
Go to Dave. Tweet yourself out, Dave. Please tweet yourself out.
So Dave, put the link in because after this we've got Dave's questions. Dave's questions are really cool. But every night there's something different. There's some very interesting answers depending on how much has been drunk by the Aussies generally.
Not just the Aussies, Amanda too.
Actually, I'll rephrase it. Depending on how much Jen has drunk, can really determine the course of the show. But I would highly recommend it. She's on the Jack Daniels tonight, so it's only going to get better.
I gotta go get more.
You should. But look, thanks everyone. I know there's some people who have been here since the start. Actually, there's quite a few people who have been here since the start, which we've gone almost 2.5 hours. I only intended to go 1.5 hours. So thank you everyone for sticking around. Thanks to everyone for coming. It's really good to have you on the channel. Good to speak to you, Nokasuchi. I really hope we can get you back again soon because I think
definitely.
It felt like it kind of went pretty well tonight. So anytime you ever want to come back, just send me a message and we'll gladly have you back anytime. And thank you as well for for accepting the apology, because it was an owed apology. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I appreciate y'all accepting my apology, and I think that people need to talk stuff out instead of just being mad at each other. So I appreciate you guys being awesome with me, and I will definitely come on. I had a lot of fun today.
That's always good. Always good. We'll try and do it at an hour where it's not 7:30 in the morning for you next time, but.
But that's not too early. 6 o'clock would be rough.
We need to do a morning six pack.
Be on at 5:30, so that was fucked up.
We need to do a morning six pack. Whilst COVID's on, we need to do a morning six pack for us.
We should do that.
We should.
Well, now I've got the studio set up and I don't have to worry about kids running around. We can actually do that, which will be good because that'll be PM for the US. So we'll be prime time. We can be prime time, Jen.
Yeah, I'm for that.
Let's go big time.
There's no AM or PM. It's just light and dark on the flat Earth.
Well, it depends where we're shining the hologram. So
yeah.
There's all this talk of Aussies has me confused because you guys don't exist. Come on.
No, we're not doing 6 a.m. six pack. That will kill me.
What it is Australian moon moves around the world and just has the big light above it that shines what we think is the sun down everywhere. That's what.
And we shoot the moon the other way, so it's pretty good. It's a great. This conspiracy brought to you by NASA. So thanks to everyone at NASA. We couldn't do it without you. So actually, we should have. Well, next time we'll cover how climate change would work on a flat Earth scale. So
okay, let me work on that one.
I'll read that one.
With guests Amanda and Mark Sargent.
No. I'm done with him. I don't fucking talk to that asshole again. No.
Yeah, but let's have Mark Sargent as a guest.
Then I'm out.
I won't even go that low. I won't even go that low. So.
Oh yeah, no, Amanda and Mark. That was interesting. But look, thanks again, everyone, for coming. We might we'll finish it there, and if you want to roll the outro, and we'll end the stream. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Well.